What's going on, guys? It's Logan. It's EJ. Welcome to SwampCast, baby. Wild weekend. Unreal. Gator game. Last Gator game for this 2024 Florida Gator football team. It was great. There was some amazing moments with Big Dez. There was some depressing Billy Napier play calling, but we got through it. We got the win. Florida comes out on top. Playoff games, first round was interesting to say the least. EJ, how you doing, man? How you doing on this? By the way, Christmas in a few days, man.
Christmas in a few days. I'll be in Hawaii for
Yep.
the Hawaii Bowl. So we're gonna be going out there to see my nephew.
It's his birthday today,
Um,
right?
and it's his
Yeah,
birthday today.
happy birthday,
So
man.
happy birthday, Deshaun Rucker, cornerback, USF Bulls. There you go. Uh yeah, man, it was a great bowl game. I took the day off, but um there were several people that took off like half the day. It came on at 12:30 here, so it was early. So people took off early from work, came in, watched the game with us. Great win. Great win. Great way to go into the off season with some momentum and hopefully that keeps up. We got all these wide receivers we got to talk about that
Oh yeah.
we're joined our team. Looks like we'll be explosive. Um just gotta keep it up. Got strong strength of schedule next year.
No question. No question. Yeah, it's not getting easier, that's for sure. Um, but uh but yeah, and we have even more visits coming up for the Gators, man. Gator football, big week for visitors for the Florida Gators. So on the transfer portal, so Napier's cooking. He's definitely out here doing his best, man. And we have, like you said, so many receivers coming in, like almost. There's never too much, but like God, bro, we're not hurting, that's for sure. Great thing is there's a lot of young receivers we're bringing in too. Guys that will hopefully, I mean, 5 years ago they would, obviously be with us for their whole 4 years, but we don't know that now. But still, getting those young guys integrated into our, culture and system is always huge. So, really good to see there. But yeah, let's go and talk about it, man. Florida 7-5. Florida faced 9-4 Tulane, and the Gators go to Tampa, Florida, to the Gasparilla Bowl. Last time we went here, we got beat by UCF because we didn't have a head coach. But we actually have a head coach this time. We go in here and we clap Tulane. I believe it was 33-8. So a big game for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. I think there was a lot to take away from this game, whether it's DJ Lagway, whether it's Billy Napier and his style of play that he kind of brought into this one. And yeah, this was obviously a big game here. So let's go ahead and start. You actually have a lot of stats here for us, EJ, that you kind of dove into it. So we can go ahead and talk about the Florida Gator offense first, kind of what they brought into the game. EJ, if you want to kind of go through some of these stats, what jumped out at you? Did you see what you wanted to see? What was your takeaway from Florida offense this game?
Yeah, so and we were talking a little bit about this before the show, but the main detail is when you look at um strength of schedule, right? Um Strength of schedule is an indicator of um how you can achieve your season averages against the teams you play. It's a good indicator. And, like Florida, we played the fifth strength of schedule in the country, coming in averaging 392 yards a game. Uh, or yeah, giving up 392 yards a game,
Right.
gaining 375 yards a game. Tulane played the 95th strength of schedule, averaging 421 yards a game. So just what's that? 50 something more yards a game they're averaging, but doing it against a significantly worse schedule. So you can believe the Florida numbers no matter who they're playing as long as Florida's healthy. And that's pretty much what we saw in this game. I mean, Florida's able to gain in this game 529 yards um, of total offense. We're able to have a points per play uh, a 0.41, pretty much 0.42, which is a little bit less than our season average. But we only gave up 0.14 to Tulane, who came in averaging 0.58 points a play. This is an offensive efficiency type of indicator. So just a huge benefit for our offense. The thing about this game was we knew that, and I think you and I, Logan, when we picked the final score, honestly, if Florida didn't throw that interception in the end zone, replace a field goal for a touchdown, and we got the 37 points that I thought we would score.
Yeah. Yep.
But the reality is, we knew Billy Napier wasn't going to come out here and try to go deep and try to be explosive on offense. We had a lot we needed to work on. We needed to see what DJ could do throwing the short and the intermediate routes, and that's sort of what we worked on in this game. It cost us because he did throw a couple of costly interceptions over the middle of the field. And we knew Trey Smack was pretty much going to be the MVP kicking field goals in this game. So that was great to see. I also think that teams in the last couple of games, Florida State and Tulane, not great defenses. Tulane statistically a much better defense than Florida State. They are starting to play us too deep, taking away the deep pass at all costs and forcing DJ to be a decision maker. He had a lot of receivers open, a lot of receivers running open. Is he going to throw it on time and on target to those guys? He made a couple of bad mistakes. Tulane did not drop the interceptions like you saw LSU drop an interception. I think even Texas dropped an interception. Ole Miss dropped an interception. That's not going to happen every game. Teams are going to eventually catch passes that are thrown right to them. And unfortunately for Florida, you had that in this game. The good news is the Tulane offense couldn't really do anything with it. But all in all, I thought we kind of treated this game as sort of like a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Offensively. That's pretty much what it was. Tulane could not stop our running attack. We, ran the ball for well over 200 yards. I don't think they surrendered coming into this game, more than around 130 yards a game. We got over 224, 510 or 5.1 yards per attempt. I thought it was just an indicator of just strength and just power at the line of scrimmage, just talent taking over. Without the interceptions, this game is probably 40-0, something like that. And then we put our third string teamers in on the last drive, and I'm kind of like, at least put the second teamers in so we can stop them and get the shutout, but we didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, overall, like you said, this is definitely one of those scrimmage games. I mean, this game reminded me of the Notre Dame and Indiana game that was played later that night. You just saw the talent disparity. You know what I mean? You just saw a lot of guys were bigger, faster, stronger. And even though we made those mistakes, EJ, we were able to bounce back from it because we are the more talented team. We are the better team. And what's scary is like we played well, but if let's say Tulane was Duke or another very competent football team, because Tulane did not play well in this game at all. They looked horrendous. And if we played a better team that was taking advantage of those, opportunities, EJ, this score could look very different because, I mean, there was a time where it was 9-0, and that's scary. It was a one possession game for a long time in this football game. What was the score at halftime? Do you remember?
It was 6-0.
6. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Any other team that's taken advantage of opportunities would have been ahead of us there, and then the momentum switches, and you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think when it comes to offensively, like you said, I mean, Jaden Ball. I mean, this guy, he has couple rushes every game where you're just like, how is he doing this? I mean, he's stiff arm. Dude, that stiff arm was dirty. There was like, he broke like 5 tackles in that one run. They pushed him out of bounds. He had 2 guys on his back. They fell to the ground. He was still standing as the ball carrier. Like, stuff like that is like, I don't care how much this guy asks for. If he does some Jack Pyburn stuff, I don't care. Give him that. Like, let this man cook and let him run the football, because oh my God, he's just dirty. And yeah, I mean, the wide receivers did their job. They did really well. Some really good catches. I mean, TJ Abrams, a guy that we haven't seen, he's only had 2 catches this year, had a really good catch extending his arms, because the throw was a little off by DJ. You had a really good catch by DK going up, grabbing that ball out of the sky. Once again, a little bit of a high throw. The receivers played really, really well in this game. And obviously Badger coming back, playing his last game, not opting out. Love to see that from a guy from a transfer, which shows that these guys are bought into Billy Napier. The 2 things that did worry me a little bit in this game, also too, the play calling by Billy Napier, I feel like was one of his more consistent games. There was still some calls where I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? But overall, though, he had some really good play calls and some good moments, and I do give him that. I got to give him props there. A lot of what went down was either just my next point, which was the bad offensive line play, or DJ Lagway just making not great decisions. Because this should have been a 3-score game going into halftime. You know what I mean? But obviously wasn't that way. So good job by Billy Napier. He distributed the ball to a lot of different players very well. I don't know how many different guys had a catch going into halftime. Right. But I mean, we were using Livingston, we were using Hayden Hansen, we were using our running backs out of the backfield. We were using these tunnel screens. Badger, DK, TJ Abrams, these guys down the field. We were distributing the ball really well, which shows good offensive efficiency most of the time. So great job by Billy Napier there on scheming up some good plays. And then the 2 things that I want to talk about is, of course, the offensive line play was horrendous in this game. I mean, and the reason is I think we had 2 guys out on our line. I know Damian George was out, and I think we had 1 more. But Slaughter did his job. Barber did his job for the most part as well on the outside, but yeah, man, I mean, we had, I think on the first drive, we had 2 different right tackles in, I believe, at one point on the same drive, and I was like, God, what did we had Waits in? We had some other people. It was kind of all over the place, which scares me even more. We need to get an offensive line portal guy. We need it. There's no, I'm telling you right now, we're not going to make the quarterfinals in the college football playoff next year if we cannot have an offensive line. You need an offensive line to block for the run game, and you need an offensive line to let DJ Lagway do what he does best, and that's throw the ball down the field, give him the time to do so. And in this game, there was multiple times with these play action plays that he was faking the handoff, stepping back, and there's already 2 guys on top of him, and he couldn't do anything. And Tulane has some big guys on the line, so they're a very physical team up front. But we just got kind of killed on our offensive line at some different points throughout this game. And it was pretty consistent. And then there was one other thing, DJ Lagway throwing the interceptions. This is a question I want to ask you, EJ, and to all the Gator fans watching right now. Do you think that it's because he's told not to run the ball? Because I feel like in a lot of those plays, he was going to run, and then last second, he kind of hesitates and throws the ball. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's something in the back of his head of Billy Napier telling him whatever it is, Russ Calloway, whoever's, telling this guy to just not run, and that's kind of prompting him last second to hesitate and to not run and to just try to fit the ball into tight coverages. But yeah, both those passes were probably 2 of his worst interceptions this year. I mean, especially the first one. I mean, I don't know why he threw that, what was going on there. And then you have, of course, the dig route by Mizell in the end zone. Which, once again, Lagway runs up at the line of scrimmage, kind of hesitates, and then tries to fit the ball in there on the dig. So that one wasn't as bad, but the problem with DJ Lagway, and I think we talked about this, the reason he struggles over the middle is because he reads high to low. And when you read high to low and you see an open guy, you might not see that corner dropping. You might not see that linebacker dropping. You might not see that defensive end, if they're doing what's what I'm looking for? It's a type of defense that we run a lot. The creeper, you know what I mean? Drop back that they do with the defensive ends. Lagway won't see that because he's reading down the field and then up into the open hole. So that's the problem. I think that's kind of what happened with those 2 plays as well. Is just the way he reads the field, which is why he's very vulnerable passing over the middle. But EJ, do you think a little bit of that has to do with him wanting to run the football and not being able to? Because we saw him run the ball toward the end, and he came up limping. So he's not 100% with that hamstring yet. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of all the above. I think it's him being mainly him being a freshman. Because remember he's gonna have, or he has had, one sort of just you know freshman mistake type of pass per game, and we talked about he had the tendency that when he threw a ball like that to just not throw those types of passes for the remainder of the game. But he went back to it in this game, which was kind of surprising, and got it picked off. I just think it's the way that these sophisticated defenses are disguising their coverages, and him just not being experienced enough to know, okay, I've got five guys in the box, but four guys are rushing me, which means where's that fifth guy? He's always like dropping right over the middle to where DJ Lagway has thrown the ball a few times this year. And so teams are like, okay, we're going to cover deep down the sidelines, and then we're going to have one guy over the middle. Can DJ throw a slant route? Can he throw an out route? Can he throw a deep dig over that defense? Can he put the ball over? It's tough for him to do that when a lot of times he's throwing off his back foot, or when he's running forward trying to throw the ball over that defender. You're never going to throw it over the defender. And I just think he never sees the guy. And that's what happens. We got lucky in a couple of games this year where the interception was not caught. But remember, in the Ole Miss game, he was high to a pass to DK over the middle, got deflected. Miracle interception by Ole Miss. Then we had another game, I think it was Kentucky earlier in the year, another just pass that just was really not a great pass. And Kentucky almost took it to the house the other way. So I think if you can get him a good quarterback coach or something over the summer, work on these, like you said, reading the defense, high to low, when to expect different coverages, knowing how many guys are blitzing you so that you can know, okay, who's out there defending the route. That's sort of what he's going to need to do in the offseason.
Yeah. No, I totally
Yeah.
agree. But he's definitely a true freshman because he makes little mistakes like that. Then he makes beautiful passes. I
Right.
mean, there's
Exactly.
that corner route to DK was gorgeous. Caught him in stride, bro. Beautiful. That I think it was a pass to Livingston as well, the tight end. He had a good game. He kind of threw. It was like a beautiful touch pass over the
Yeah.
cornerback right into his that right shoulder, man. Beautiful ball. Like you could tell that when he fixes a little bit of these mistakes and he gets more consistent, he's gonna be a Heisman Trophy candidate, and I believe that
Oh,
he
for
can make
sure.
those jumps this offseason, especially with these receivers and these threats that we have coming into this class. My main issue, like I said, is the offensive line, man. Because there's a reason why he's not comfortable in that pocket right now. He's a true freshman. Yes, he can't run. Yes, but I also think it's because that offensive line has been a little iffy this year. And, there's been, even in games that they play well in, there's a lot of times where it closes in really fast. And there was a lot of that this game. I think he just got a little happy feet sometimes as well and tried to make a hero play. But yeah, like you said, overall, this offense did really well. They did their job. They really, because 529 total yards this game is unbelievable. That's incredible. I don't know how many other games we played that we hit that mark. But that is awesome. We had 80 plays this game on offense, which is unreal. You had on here, our average is 60. So we had almost 20 more plays this game than usual. I mean, we dominated time of possession. And a lot of that had to do with this Gator defense, EJ. So I don't know if you have anything else to say on the offense, but we could talk about how this defense did a really good job against a Tulane offense that's very explosive, even with their backup quarterback in. Ty Thompson is a quarterback who he's talented. He was a 4-star coming out of high school, I think. Went to Oregon, played pretty well at some points in Oregon, then came over here to Tulane. So, Sorry, wait, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry
Oh, there
about
you are.
that.
There you're good.
Sorry about that. I was on mute.
You're good, brother.
Um, just a couple other quick on Lagway. So 6-1 as a starter and 6-0 in games that he plays the whole game.
That's
So
crazy.
that's
That's
great. And
crazy.
he's in the schedule that he played during that stretch, pretty darn difficult. And he was able to pull through and go 6-0. Um, he became the fourth UF true freshman quarterback to start a bowl. Um, Wayne Peace in 1980, Chris Leak in the 2004 Outback Bowl, and Treon Harris in the dreaded Birmingham Bowl. Or the other two, I hated that Birmingham Bowl. God, that was the worst.
Didn't our running back poop his pants too? Yeah, that was what Adam Lane, I think. Yeah, he was a good little running back, man, but that was crazy
Yeah, that why did we poop our pants in a
against
freaking
Eastern Carolina. Yeah,
against Eastern Carolina? Right. That was terrible.
yeah.
But real quick, Florida, we got 400 yards rushing. It was only the fourth time this year that we got over 400 yards rushing and or 400 total yards, and it was the first time in 6 games. That just goes to show how tough a schedule we had been playing because our offense was decent. Um, and we've ran for 100 yards now, 12 of our last 13 games, um, 32 of the last 38 since 2022. So that's pretty great. Let's see, any other fun stats about this game? Um, I think that's it. Other than Trey Smack, 4 out of 4 field goals. If he was on your fantasy bowl team, you would be amazing right now. And DJ Lagway was the MVP. So there you go. But the defense. Okay, let's see. I think I wrote some fun defensive stats down in this game. This just goes to show you that number one, Tulane without Mensa at quarterback was extremely limited, but they still came into the game averaging, what was their rushing total average? I got
Um, rushing yards
two
per game,
205.
205. Yeah,
So Ty Thompson came in with 258 yards rushing on the season. And he's a running quarterback. They still had their star running back. So were they going to be able to run the ball? I think Tulane tried to throw the ball way too much. I thought they, should have just ran Ty Thompson. But Florida was able to contain them and keep them to 69 yards total offense or total rushing, 194 yards total. That's the fewest yards we've allowed all year. We got 3 interceptions in this game. Uh, Let me see who were our people to get the interception. Alfonso Allen Jr. got his first
never
interception
heard of him.
in his
Good for him,
career.
man.
Good for him.
Great last name.
Right. Oh yeah. Great, great last. Does he
Yeah.
spell it the right? Does he spell
Oh,
it?
he spells it the right
Spells
way,
it.
not the
He spells it.
ALAN thing. Yeah,
Yeah, because there's a couple LAN people
yeah.
out there. Miles Graham, the
Let's
son of
go.
Ernest Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a big time
It was beautiful.
interception.
That drop back, dude. It was gorgeous, man. It was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. Hey, perfect interception. And Triquez Bridges got an interception on the first play of the game for Tulane, their first offensive play from scrimmage. 14 interceptions this year for the Gator defense. Um, and just overall, what a turnaround from the last couple of years to be able to think, oh, I'm looking forward to our defense going out there and playing. Like I don't even know if we've been in that situation since 2019 where Gator fans actually look forward to the defense going onto the field. Because I was just like, if our offenses stay out there, but then it also goes to show, because you talked about the time of possession, where we got pretty much destroyed by LSU from a time of possession. what happens when you can get the other team off the field and force them to not convert third downs and force them to actually punt the ball? Tulane came into this game 52%, one of the top teams in the country on third down conversions. We held them to 23% in this game. So when you can get off the field and get your guy the ball back, and you have an offense that can, you know, chug their way down the field, you're great. And then when your defense gets on the field, they're fresh. So overall, great job by the defense. Would have liked to see a little bit more sack action, but when you think about it, Ty Thompson, very mobile quarterback, combined with the fact that we had a couple of guys, not playing in the game, defensively on the defensive line. That was it there. So
Yeah. No, one point that you brought up that was really good. That you said, well, we had 13 interceptions this year total. Last year
14.
14. Last year we had 3, which is insane. So obviously a big improvement there. The Gator defense has done great in just turnovers overall this season, which was kind of a big argument about the Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts. What's going on there, and that is a big uptick in production out of the turnover department, because I think last year we were -5 the whole year on the turnover battle alone. And that's because offense, we had some interceptions, we had some fumbles, and defensively we couldn't create turnovers at all. So at least we're creating turnovers. Our offense is also taking advantage of those turnovers, and you have to appreciate that. So yeah, great job by the defense overall this year. Great improvement there. Like you said, one thing that jumps out at me, EJ, when I look at this chart that you made, the Tulane offense strength of schedule is 95, and the Gator defense is 5. That's insane. There's 90 teams between us. That is, you can't even fathom that. And I think this is what happens. Let's say the Tulane quarterback was still in this game. I think that they still would not be able to really do much. And like you said, Micah Hughes, a guy that's one of the best running backs in college football, I would say top 10 at least, maybe around the 9 spot. This guy is on everyone's radar. Gets 8 carries this game? Was he hurt? What's going on there? And he didn't play bad. When he got the ball, he was very physical with it. They barely ran the ball. Their quarterback had double the amount of rushes that their star running back had. I don't get what their game plan was coming into this game. It was really strange. Tulane's offense in this game, almost 200 yards, 8 points on the board. They didn't even have 60 plays per game this game, which was obvious, or didn't even have 60 points in this game, which is very interesting, and only had a 21 minute time of possession. And if you ever have a 21-minute time of possession, you're not going to win a game. That's an insane stat to look at. If you look at the stats for Tulane in this game, like I said, Ty Thompson, with 11 out of 30 pretty much for 125 yards, and yeah, Micah Hughes only 8 carries for 29 yards. They didn't have a single rush that went over 7 yards in this game, which is insane. So the linebackers for Florida were playing pretty well. And my favorite stat of this whole thing, by the way, I'm surprised we didn't talk about it, is the Desmond Watson 1 carry for 1 yard in this game. Heisman, bro, picked up the Ty Thompson early on in this game and thought about slamming him, and that was a beautiful moment. That was just the tone setter for this game. That alone, in my opinion, he should have won MVP. But yeah, just like you said, why they went away from the run early on was weird. They probably wanted to get Mario Williams, their star receiver, transfer, over 100 yards, over 1,000 yards receiving this year. He's the first Tulane receiver to do it since 2013. So I guess they kind of wanted to, do that for him and get him over that 1,000-yard mark. But He had 6 receptions for 91 yards, but he didn't really have that impact of like, oh God, we got to bracket this guy every play. You know what I mean? It was just, he made some big moments. There was a couple late as well, kind of when the game was already over. So great job by this Gator defense overall, on creating turnovers, letting the offense take advantage of those turnovers, or at least giving them the opportunity to do so. And yeah, doing well against the pass, doing well against the run. And that front 7 did a pretty good job getting to the quarterback. Even though, like you said, Cam Jackson, a guy that was going to play in this game, gets hurt, which really sucked to see. But yeah, some guys out on the defensive line, and they still held their own pretty well, I would say, against this Tulane offense. So great game by the Gator defense.
Great game defense. Also, Florida's reporting that we had 12 explosive plays in the game. So I guess any rush over 10 yards is considered a explosive play. So, this is great. Mizell had a 29-yard catch in the first quarter. DK had 3 big receptions in the game. And Livingston, hey, he's stepping up. He had 2 big 20-something yard receptions in this game. So, and Jacoby Jackson, I think, got his longest catch of the season, a 21-yard catch in the second quarter. I think overall, this game just kind of shows us Florida's potential, but next season you're going to have to the stats, the dominance in the stats are going to have to translate to dominance on the scoreboard. You can't be outgaining someone at halftime by 4-1 and only up 6-0. You just can't. That you're going to get beat. Like, just think about that. Like, if you were playing any other team that got that interception and ran it back to the 2-yard line, and they just run in for a 2-yard touchdown, they still only have 46 yards of total offense to your 250 or whatever we had at halftime, but they're beating you 7-6. So like, you can't, that can't happen. But it also goes to show that when your red zone offense, and I don't have the red zone efficiency pulled up right here, but our red zone efficiency was not really that great in this game. We had to kick 4 field goals. You got to score touchdowns. So this game really, based on how the yardage differential, 529 to 194, time possession, all that, they're saying that this game should have been 49-3. Should have been the final score.
Yeah.
So it said it was 33-8. So, so we're gonna need to be able to fix that going into next season. But overall, great performance. Solid win to end the season. We are now. It's looking like we. Here's an interesting stat. So we've produced at least 1 turnover in 29 of the last 38 games in the Napier era, and since 1996. So this is going way back to your interception stat. 6th nationally in total interceptions since 1996, and leads the SEC in the last since 1996 with 427 interceptions. So, DBU, maybe DBU.
Is it coming back? Yeah. No, you brought up a great point though. Can the efficiency on the field or on the stat sheet translate to the field? That's something that we've seen consistently under Billy Napier, and I think a big reason why people are saying about the offensive coordinator thing. Because how many times have we seen that? Even against Samford, even in the Miami, like there's a lot of games that we were playing better at some points, but just it didn't translate to the scoreboard. And like we both stated, when you play a good team, and next year we're gonna be playing a lot of good teams. Luckily, we have a few early, we have that easy cupcake to start it out with. But thank God, dude, Napier in his whole career at Florida has not had an easy game to start up. We had Utah 2 years in a row, and then we have Miami. This is unreal.
Yeah.
So he finally gets an easy game. before absolute hell breaks loose with this weird schedule we got next year. And um, so he needs to figure it out, the consistency on translating that to the field, because when we play teams like Texas, when we play teams like Ole Miss, Texas A&M at Texas A&M and Kyle Field, a team that, listen, there's going to be big expectations for that team next year under Mike Elko. So especially with how they're recruiting and the transfer portal that they got going on, they're going to be wanting to be a top, 7 team, top 6 team. So expect them to be really good. So you're going to have one hell of and especially Brian Kelly at LSU. He's going to be on the chopping block next year as well, because LSU fans don't play. So, you're going to have to figure something out if you're Billy Napier here on getting better week to week, on starting out fast, and keeping that consistency there. So we'll see what happens. Going to be something to look forward to and look at going in. That's probably the thing I'm going to be looking most at next year is, can we just be efficient? Can we be efficient in the red zone? Because like you said, EJ, in this game, that was really every game that we've lost this year, that's been an issue, is efficiency in the red zone. And when you look at this game, like you said, we had 3 field goals in the red zone, I think, and that interception that we had as well. So it's like, we need to finish these drives. We have to, because like you said, you can kick 2 field goals, but guess what? All it's going to take is one play for the other team to make it the same score and go up by 1, right? So we got to do something there to fix that. But yeah, overall, I think this was a good way to end the season. I know, once again, I always sound like I'm depressed, but I'm just trying to point out the things I think we need to work on. But I am very happy with how this ended. Obviously, great send off for Big Dez. I think we had a lot of young guys have great moments, like Miles Graham and Lagway and Ball, and this young secondary with Castell having a couple good plays as well. So I think we're seeing a lot of good things from this young Gator team, and I think a big reason to be excited going into that orange and blue game in April to see what else we can do and do some things. So very excited, very happy. We said at the beginning of the season, at least I said, if we get 8 wins, I'll be happy. And the Florida Gators are now at 8 wins. We're now an 8-5 team, and I think this is a great opportunity for Napier to keep this momentum going in the next year. So let's see what happens. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the game. EJ, any last thoughts on this game against Tulane? By the way, love that name, dude. It's so funny.
Tulane. Yeah, I thought it was a good game just to in the season, just because we could have played a tougher opponent, with a more higher level talent profile, but after having played the schedule we played, it's kind of like, can we just have a game to get our confidence up going into the, next season? You know what I mean? Like, we already played enough tough games. And so hopefully that'll give us some momentum. 8-5. I mean, turnaround. And Billy Napier won, and Florida won the ESPN season turnaround award.
Oh, wow. Even
Yeah.
over a team like Indiana or Arizona
Yeah, see,
State?
I think we talked about that. They were talking about how the season
Oh,
started
yes.
versus how it ended.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it was. That's
yeah.
what it was.
So we didn't start off great. We were 1-3 to start the season, and ended up 7. What were we, 7-2 or something like that?
Yeah.
Or yeah, won 4 in a row. For the first time since 2020, by the way, we were able to win 4 games in a row. And the
Wow.
first time since 2019 that we ended the year with 4 straight wins. And the last time we ended the year on 4 straight wins, the next season, that 2020 season, we were pretty good. Just the defense was awful. So as long as we don't have another pandemic between now and the beginning of next season, we should be pretty good. We should be pretty good.
Yep.
There can't be we've got to emphasize the weak points of the team this year in the off season, and make sure that we maintain our strengths. Our strengths this year were our defensive line. We started to get pressure. George Gums, he only played a few snaps in this game, but when he was in there, he was immediately into the backfield. So this is a guy we gotta put him in bubble wrap, the whole whatever we gotta do.
Yeah.
He's got to be healthy going into next season.
Yeah.
Same with Caleb Banks, who I don't think played.
Nope.
Um, and Shamar James and Pup Howard. These guys got to stay healthy. Um, so if we can stay healthy on the defense, that'll be good. Getting DJ Lagway more reps, keeping him healthy, I think will be a huge benefit. Getting him, as soon as you can get those freshman wide receivers in, the better, to get some camaraderie with him and in the offense.
Yep.
We were able to get Sturdivant, the wide receiver from out here in Cali, from UCLA. Big time, tall, fast wide receiver. Trying to think like who he reminds me of. From a former, just looking at a couple of film with him and previous Florida Gators. Maybe who's our wide receiver that played a little bit at Kansas City?
Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got like some athletic ups and hops like Robinson.
Right.
Which is pretty good, but he's a little bit thicker than Robinson, so that's gonna be great from a physicality standpoint because you don't want to get destroyed over the middle. And that's something for all the wide receivers. I think they're just all gonna need to get a little bit more physical.
Right.
Because you do have the tendency to get hurt. So yeah, man, great win. Looking forward to the offseason. We'll be doing a lot of coverage in the offseason on how the team's doing and what we can expect.
For sure. Speaking of the transfer guys that you mentioned, obviously Dallas Wilson, a guy that I think we talked about this last week a little bit. It's been a minute now, but Dallas Wilson, a guy who was really interested in Florida coming out of high school. He's still coming out of high school, signed his letter of intent with Oregon last minute because they dropped a bag on this kid. He really wanted to come to Florida and play for DJ Lagway because Lagway and him, he was pushing hard for him late in the for early signing day. He requested for his letter of intent to be diminished or whatever, to leave. He just got granted that, I believe. Did he officially get granted the letter of intent?
I haven't seen that.
I don't think
it's 99%.
Yeah, it's from what I've heard, yes and no. I don't know what's going on anymore. Anyways, he was at the Florida and Tulane game in Raymond James Stadium at Tampa. Dapped up Lagway after the game. Great sign. Fans are taking pictures with him. This seems like a done deal. So that's another 5-star receiver in this class for 2024, which is or 2025, which is unreal. That's like insane. So huge for the Gators there. Also, Texas wide receiver transfer, Jonte Cook, the second. I love this guy. He's another big body dude. I think this is the guy we talked about last week that I was like, this guy runs like a 4.4 and he's like 6'4", so he's huge and he's fast and he's big guy. He's visiting the Florida Gators. UMass edge transfer Kofi Azar. He's going to be visiting Florida. And then we have a UAB safety, Adrian Maddox, a guy who seems very interested in Florida. That would be a good safety pickup for the Gators. And then the tight end from Marshall, Cameron Kosman as well. So we need to get that tight end. That would be a good pickup for us. So those are the guys that are going to be visiting the Florida Gators this weekend out of the transfer portal. All those guys would be really good additions for this 2025 team.
Nice.
But yeah, all right. So let's go ahead and talk about this Florida Gators season overall. You already kind of were diving into it. We just kind of want to reflect on this year. Man, this year feels like 5 seasons in one. It just feels like when you look back on where we were mentally, after the Miami game, after the Texas A&M game, which by the way, I went to both those games, and out of going to the Swamp for, I would say 6 years in a row now, I've never seen the fan base that deflated. And I've been to some games before, and I've never seen them that deflated. I was there during the Samford game a couple years back, where it was like what the final score was like 70 to 50, whatever it was, to 50. It was insane. It was the Swamp. I've never seen that quiet before. The fans, no one was saying a word leaving the stadium after both those games. And Billy Napier, I think, was about this close to getting fired. It was a problem. And then our savior, DJ Lagway, pops up and just goes off. Napier does this 2 quarterback system, which I still think was an absolute joke. But we get to see more DJ Lagway. He gets playing time. Mertz goes down, which sucks to see. Obviously, in the Tennessee game, a guy that non-contact injury, a true Florida Gator, transfer from Wisconsin. But God, he is the Gator standard. Guy that loved the fan base, that loved the school, that loved the university, that loved that Gator logo, that loved that Gator head. Goes down, but I think this is where we really see the change in the switch up, I would say, in this season for the Gators, because after that, Lagway goes off. He goes to the Georgia game. We're up on Georgia. He gets hurt. Kind of goes to crap in the Texas game because he's injured. Comes back and just goes off, like you said, wins 4 games in a row and just dominates. 4 games. And really saves this season. We also saw, I think, some people keep talking about DJ Lagway and some other of these other players, but this defense as well improved so much in this game or this season. A big one for me is against rushing quarterbacks. Early on against Cam Ward and Marcel Reed and all these guys, we could not stop the quarterback run at all. And then later on in the year, we played guys like Jackson Dart and some other ones that we actually contain them very well and don't allow too much explosive plays. Again, in the Tulane game with Ty Thompson. So just an improvement overall from this team. They were bought into Billy Napier. This team stood beside Billy Napier even in the worst parts of the season. And yeah, we finished this season 8-5, which if you would have told me that in September of this year, I would have laughed in your face. But we somehow finished the season 8-5. Great season of Gator football. We're going to get into some stats I want to talk about, but EJ, overall, how did you feel about this season?
Yeah, after the season started, it was not promising. We were all on the Fire Billy train, but there was a higher power in charge saying, wait a minute, guys, slow your roll here. Let Billy cook. Let him cook. and so and so he started cooking. I mean, think about those 2 first losses. We had season highs given up, like Texas A&M, 310 yards rushing. That was a season high. Miami, 385 yards passing we gave up, which ended up being the season most yards that we've given up. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, we can't really score and we can't really stop anyone. And we've got the toughest schedule in the nation. Not gonna end well, right? And so it's like, this is why we got the turnaround award from ESPN. How do you go from not being able to stop anyone and not being able to score to winning 4 straight and effectively winning games against teams who were playoff contenders and doing a lot of that with a true freshman quarterback? And also, by the way, I think this is like the 14th straight year in a row where we've had over 1 million attendees in all the Florida football games. So if you add up the attendance of all the games, we were 1,057,000 this year, which was great. Overall, I would say this is probably a B plus season for me if I were to give it a grade. It was close to being an F, but I think a B plus is really, really good because to get an A, I think we needed to win one more of those close games that we had, like the Tennessee game. And we'll talk about Tennessee, but that was a game that, because how in school, if you get a 100 and then you get like a 20, your average is still only like it's still a F,
Yeah.
even though one of your scores was really good. That was kind of like the Tennessee game. Is we just had so many poor play calls in that game.
Oh my God, so bad.
Um,
Billy Napier lost us that game, in my opinion. But
yeah, Billy Napier. I think that loss was really a lot on him because we were in position to score. Um, and we held Tennessee to 17 points. We should have been able to win that game. We didn't go for two at the end. A lot of people don't go for two. I'm like, you have a chance to win it or lose it. Win it, baby. And then you get the onside kick with Trey Smack, 60-yard field goal. There you go. So I think looking at that game, had we won that game, or what's another close game that we lost? Georgia, I guess, was the only other close game
yeah,
that we lost. Um, that one, I think beating Georgia, I think is probably you're automatically going to be an A on your season if you could beat them somehow.
oh for sure.
But I think one more win would have given us an A minus for the season. Um, but overall, I think you've got to maintain momentum. We've got to close National Signing Day, which is in February technically, and continue to get some good guys in the transfer portal. Remember, the transfer portal still goes through the spring, so or opens again at the end of the spring, the spring semester.
Mhm.
So I think we got Elijah Badger, if I'm not mistaken. Like he didn't become a Gator until the spring
Yeah,
last year. So there's still a chance to get another game-changing player, um, that we can get in onto the roster, um, and go into next season with some momentum. We got to see a DJ Lagway transformation like you saw from. I don't want to compare him to Joe Burrow, but when you go back and you look at Joe Burrow's 2018 to 2019, LSU was winning games with Joe Burrow they won that game against UCF in the Fiesta Bowl in a very similar game to this Tulane game because you're playing a team that's overmatched. Okay. I remember LSU had like 600 something yards, but was only up by like 8 points in that
that
game.
was a crazy game.
Very, very similar game. Oh, and by the way, that was the game that got us the blindside block as a penalty because Joe Burrow threw an interception and he's trying to go and get the tackle, and then UCF freaking takes him out and is like talking crap in his face while he's on the ground, like, "Oh
Bro,
man,
that
this is
hit,
not
that hit
happening."
was one of the worst blindside blocks I've ever seen. Dude got laid out, and
But it was legal. It was legal back
it,
then.
I think it still should be legal. And what's funny is like people talk about how that was what changed Joe Burrow, that exact hit. Because after that, he played lights out the rest of his career.
And that's exactly. So I'm kind of like, well, mate, did DJ, did his hamstring, was that the equivalent to the Joe Burrow hit? I don't know. But Joe Burrow went into that next season on a mission. Okay, on a mission. Now it does take a little bit of luck. Anytime you win a championship or you have a really good season, then luck is you stay healthy the whole season. That LSU 2019 team, we talked about this before. Most of their key contributors, they had a tough schedule. Most of their key contributors did not get injured the whole season. So you can't have a season next year where half the team's injured, half your starters are out. Okay. So, you got to get through the season healthy, and you got to have depth so that if a guy does get hurt, you don't completely fall off a map because he's the only person that can do anything. So that's going to be key. Managing the schedule next year, and then being a team that can win. So that's going to be DJ Lagway's ability to throw accurately deep, throw intermediate, and power run. And if we can do those three things, the offense will be very difficult to stop. And then if you can rush the passer, the defense will be able to get stops. That's how you get interceptions because you get sacks. and you get pressure on the quarterback and you force the quarterback to throw early, off target, off time, and guess what? Interception. So if we can do that and navigate the season next year, if you look at it, not too many teams are returning their quarterback. Everybody's pretty much going to have a different quarterback next year. And you've got to build the team so that you're Georgia, sort of like Georgia, where Georgia doesn't really depend on the quarterback. They've got a really good offensive line, great running game, great defense. You can put Daffy Duck back there as quarterback, and they're still going to score 35 points. So if you can do that and also have DJ Lagway, you've got a chance to really beat a lot of good teams next year. So we'll see what happens. Death Valley, early next season. That game is going to be an indicator of, like you said, Brian Kelly. He LSU fans are not happy with this guy. Okay, they're saying, Brian Kelly, you left LSU or Notre Dame. You left Notre Dame, and guess what? They're in the playoff blowing people out. And now you come to LSU, and what happens? We get destroyed by Alabama, and then who doesn't even have Nick Saban, by the way. And Florida beats us after we had the ball for 45 minutes.
Which, by the way, LSU hates Florida. Their fans hate us, bro.
Oh, yeah, they hate us.
They want to win this. They want to win against us almost as much as they want to beat Alabama, so that hurts.
Well, because if you think about it, because we always see rivalries from our perspective, but if you see rivalries from the perspective of other teams, like you think about LSU, who's their biggest rival?
I mean,
like you said,
yeah.
I think Florida, like if you were to ask their fans, who's your biggest rival as an LSU Tiger? A lot of them are going to say Florida.
Yeah.
A lot, because they never beat Alabama. So they beat Alabama like what? Once every 10 years?
Yeah.
So they beat us every year. So, well, not this year. So they're kind of, Florida's a rival. So that's a 50-50 game. You don't play Georgia every year. You don't really play Texas or you play Texas A&M, I guess, but that's not really a rivalry. Florida.
Arkansas is probably like one of their
Arkansas.
other. But I do agree. I think they hate Florida. Every LSU fan I talk to hates us, bro. So, and I hate that team. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that's gonna be a huge indicator, like you said. I think the pressure's also on Billy Napier in that game. I think as Gator fans, and listen, in the offseason, we're gonna dive deep into the schedule and talk about everything. But I think we're if anything happens, if we finish it, let's say like 8-4 or 9-3, and we get left out of the playoff, I think every Gator fan is going to be very disappointed, and they're going to want Billy Napier gone. And I'm going to be in that same boat. I expect the playoff. Anything less than that, I'm going to be very disappointed. I think every fan's going to be very disappointed. And to get to that playoff, you have to beat LSU, because there's some other games in here that are tough, man. You're going to have a late game against Ole Miss at the Grove, and they're expecting it. So I guarantee, here's what you could do, and I guarantee this is probably exactly what's going to happen. We have one loss going into Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Ole Miss also has 1 or 2 losses going into that game. I think that's a playoff game. I really do. I think that right there, whoever wins that game is going to be making it into the playoff, and maybe even the SEC championship. So I think that Ole Miss game is another one to circle. That's going to be very interesting to see. Because I think Ole Miss fans are also tired of not making the play. I think they want to win. They want to win a national championship there. And I'm not saying that Lane Kiffin will be on the chopping block if he doesn't, but their expectations were high this year. They're pissed they didn't make the playoff this year. And Lane Kiffin can make up an excuse this season, and his fans can maybe accept it this season. But if it happens next year and they go 9-3 with another bad loss, let's say to Kentucky, like it was this year, then their fans are gonna be pissed. They'll let it slide this year, but not next year. They're gonna want that game. They're gonna want that revenge game against Florida. Another big game to look at. So next year, like you talked about, it's gonna be a very interesting season, with a lot of high expectations from Gator fans. Because as a Gator fan, I don't know about you, EJ, I always had year 4 circled for Billy Napier. I always did. And the only reason I wanted him fired this year early on is because of how the losses happened. I had a problem getting blown out by two teams that I hate in Texas A&M and in Miami was unacceptable. Starting the year out 1-2, but I always had season 4 circled for a national championship for Billy Napier. So I think also too Scott Strickland had the same exact thing circled. I think that's why he gave him that extra year, because year 4 is what he was looking at. I think Billy Napier himself has had his eyes on year 4 as a head coach. So we're in the final act of this movie now. This Billy Napier movie, you know what I mean? Is it gonna work great? Is the hero gonna win? Is this gonna be like Infinity War where it doesn't? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's gonna be a fun one. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. EJ, you want to dive into some of these kind of just a few stats from this season, on from the Florida Gators, and then one thing I want to do too, and we were talking about this. I want to pick one player from offense that you think was like the big breakout player you didn't expect that you were very impressed with, and also I want to pick a defensive player that jumped out at you that I think you think was a big game changer on the defense. So the team leaders, the top 5. DJ Lagway with 1,900 passing yards. Think about it. He didn't even play fully in a lot of games, and he still had 1,900 passing yards. Jaden Ball with 673 on the ground. Elijah Badger with 800 yards receiving on the season. And then Triquez Bridges with 69 tackles this season, which is great for a DB. Interceptions, Bryce Thornton leads that category with 3. So, yeah, team leaders, all those players have done a really good job. Thornton obviously came up huge in that Ole Miss game with those interceptions. So he had a pretty good game there. Bridges, transfer, has done amazing holding his own. And Elijah Badger, another transfer, holding his own. Did an amazing job receiving. I mean, look at the leading receiver in the games this season. He, out of like the 13 games we played, he was leading like 10 of them in total, reception yards. And then Jaden Ball, true freshman, DJ Lagway, true freshman, guys that are the future. So yeah, the stats this year just looked beautiful. One thing you can look at too is when you go to team stats on ESPN and you look at the 2023 season compared to 2024 season, there's an improvement in almost every single category, which is what you want to see from a year-to-year basis. So yeah, huge for the Gators.
Yeah, my offensive player of the year has got to go to Jaden Baugh, the true freshman running back. 133 carries this year, 670 yards, so that's 5 yards an attempt. One fumble throughout the year. He does not fumble the ball. He's our highest graded running back. And I think next year it's got to be we usually like to have like a three-headed monster running back situation. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year. Montrell Johnson's not going to be there. Jacoby Jackson, will he be back? He's a redshirt junior. We'll see. And then you've got Trayon Webb, who was injured all year. So we'll see what happens. I think Webb is a really good running back to spell Jaden Baugh, but I think Baugh has definitely got to be your starter next year. He is just a running back that has a unique running style. He's very patient when he gets the ball. He facilitates his blocks. He runs to his blocks. He lets his blocks develop. A lot of running backs just get the ball and just run straight ahead and get, hit and tackled immediately. So I really like Baugh. I think if you've got him and you've got Webb and then Jackson, and then I think we got a couple other guys. Interested, Cam Carroll, who actually came to us from Tulane. I remember he transferred. He was a big name. He hasn't really gotten too much, so we'll see what happens with him. But you're also losing Big Dez, so he won't be able to get you those big fourth down conversions anymore. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I really got to give it to Trayon Webb. In terms of blocking on the offensive line, obviously, Jake Slaughter is your your wasn't he like first team all SEC or
Yep.
something like that?
Yep.
So he was really, really, really good. Um, you also had, from a run block standpoint, in order to run the ball up the middle, you got to have a really good center. I mean, because the center is the guy that not only has to snap the ball, but they immediately have to block. So it's like I never understood how they were able to do that. Like snap, block, and then not only block, but you have to get leverage because if the center loses leverage at the snap, the run play is completely destroyed. The center has to snap the ball, block, and then win that block so that the defensive tackle is not in the backfield when you hand the ball off. And Jake Slaughter, pretty much every single time when he snaps the ball, he stones the tackle. And then the running back's able to at least get to the line of scrimmage where you're in plus territory on the run. And so we were able to run up the middle and not have to go to the outside. So when you don't have a good center, look at teams who can't run up the middle. It's probably because they don't have a good center. Austin Barber, I thought also did a pretty good job this year blocking, but Jake Slaughter's got to win your offensive lineman of the year. And then obviously for wide receivers, I gotta go our main man Badger. He didn't drop pretty much anything that was thrown his way all season. Kind of had the same drop. Didn't have as good of a drop uh, PFF grade as uh, who's the tight? Forgot the we had this like amazing tight end like a few years ago. Um, Number 84.
Oh, Pitts.
Pitts.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Pitts was like 100% because he didn't drop anything.
Right.
But Badger, just another incredible 21 yards a catch.
Jeez.
Just really, really explosive, and really, really good. So we'll have to see what happens. You've got to be able to spread the wealth with your wide receivers, but you've also got to have a main, alpha receiver for your quarterback. You can't. Every good quarterback has one alpha receiver and then a host of other really, really good receivers, but you got to have an alpha. You go all the way back to any Florida Gator season, or really any season of any quarterback. You have a guy that's a go to, and the defense can focus on that person. For so many years, it's kind of like, okay, well, who do we focus on? We don't really know. You got to focus on one guy, and then that allows the quarterback to get other people involved, and then boom, you go back to your main guy. So who's that guy going to be next year? Eugene Wilson, can he stay healthy? He's got to get bigger because he takes one hit, he's out for the half the year. So I don't know if we can depend on him, but he's great when he's healthy and he has the ball in his hand. So you've got all these, Montgomery, you've got Wilson, you've got Sturdivant coming in from UCLA. Who's going to be the main guy? Um, the spring game is going to be really, really big because it's going to tell us, which one of these guys are going to emerge. Very similar to how Jaden Baugh emerged in the spring game this year. Like I watched the spring, I'm like, okay, that number 13, like I don't know if our defense is because I thought it was because our defense sucked. But he's like running all over them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's pretty good. Like we got to give him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing, we already know he's good.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see who can catch passes down the field and not drop them, and then punt returning.
Yes.
People underestimate how important a punt returner who doesn't fumble punts is. We've had two really good ones the last couple of years. We're going to have a new one this year. Playing a tough schedule. A fumbled punt, the game's completely changed. Who's going to be that guy that can catch those punts this year? So those are the things that I'm looking forward to. Oh, Uh, we got the kicker from Michigan. I guess he's really good. Losing Trey Smack, big loss. Um, and we got the true freshman punter, who apparently, if you go to Australia and get somebody, they all can kick. So get somebody from Australia. They kick that ball like 50 yards. You got to get somebody from Australia. So we got a couple of guys. So you got to be able to, and then that's the other folk. Oh, last thing, and I promise I'm done. Special teams need to be special. How many times have we not gotten a big special teams play? Like Trey Smack can kick, and then Crenshaw's a great punter. But when it comes to punt return into plus territory, like we never had any return punts. We had like two. Also, and then the two that we had, phantom hold, phantom block in the back.
Yeah.
We don't return any kicks anymore. So we automatically start from the 25. We also don't tend to try to block any kicks. Like if you look at South Carolina, Beamer ball. I always make fun of Beamer ball because anytime they lose, I'm like, Beamer ball. But here's the thing. Beamer ball hits you with a big special teams play, and then what happens? Avalanche after that. Block punt, run it back. What's another one? Fumbled the punt. We got it. We're running it back. They always do something on special teams. Block the field goal, run the field goal back for a touchdown. When's the last time we blocked a field goal?
That's great. Probably since Javon Curse, honestly.
Yeah. Jarvis Moss against South Carolina in 20 years ago.
Yep. Cock block.
Yeah, the cock block. So Napier, Urban Meyer, his big thing was make special teams special. Because if you can make one big special teams play, the game changes. And it's an avalanche.
Oh, by the way, we saw that in the Tulane game. There was 2 different times where we had the wrong number of guys on the field for the punt. And the other thing, we saw it happen again. And it's because we don't have, I don't know, we got to figure out special teams, man. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Hire someone that knows what they're doing. Because, God, bro, we saw it again in that Tulane game. And like you said, in big moments, and we're talking playoff games, first round playoff game, whatever it is, you can't make mistakes like that. It's just not going to happen. Good news is, though, EJ, we have 3 guys that I really like to return punts next year, whether it's Tank Hawkins, whether it's Mizell, whether it's Eugene Wilson. We have those slippery Kadarius Toney type guys back there that can bring the ball back. Because that might be the last time we returned a punt is Kadarius Toney. So, it's been a while. And we just got to find our Brandon Powell back there to be slippery, small, and get some yards. We'll see.
I like that. I like that Hawkins. I
love guy. Hawkins, bro. I love him.
See the reason they don't put some of these people back there is because they can't catch that punt. And let me tell you something. It's probably like, I don't know. I always think of it like maybe you're acting. Like, are you gonna get stage fright when that punt is in the air? And if you don't catch that thing, the season's over.
Right.
Because that's basically what happened. You don't catch that punt, it's an avalanche. Yep. It's an avalanche. So can Hawkins catch that punt? Because the sun's in your eye, the team wants to lay you out.
There's 90,000 people watching you.
90,000 people. And to me, if it were me and I'm like, oh shit, I can't catch it, I'd run away from the ball. I just let it bounce. Even though you're not supposed to let it bounce, I'd rather let it bounce than fumble it. So you got to catch that punt. Okay, ran over.
No, you're good. I agree. I totally agree. My offensive player, I agree with everything you said, is definitely Jaden Ball. Same thing with you. Watching the orange and blue game, my dad and I were like, yeah, this guy's going to be insane. Give him the ball. And no pun intended. And yeah, he just went out there and dominated. I mean, literally one of the hardest runners. He reminds me of like Le'Veon Bell, just
Yeah.
very patient,
Yeah.
but has the explosiveness of like and physicality of like a uh I don't even know what's the Alabama running back from way back in the day. Not Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, kind of.
Ingram.
Yeah, like a Mark Ingram
Yeah.
physicality, but the shiftiness and patience. I don't know. It's weird. He's a very unique running back, and he brings a lot to the table. So I agree. That's probably my offensive player of the year. Um, Defensive though, I need to hear yours, EJ. Uh,
Yeah.
my defensive player of the year. Um, is going to be, I think, Caleb Banks, a guy that was very consistently disruptive on the front. Not only did great in pass rush, but his, run defense was amazing. He would shed those blocks. He was patient, let the running back get to him, move the guy to the side, and tackle him. Also did not miss tackles, which was huge, and obviously something that's been hurting Florida Gators for a while now, for the past couple of years. So I'm going to go Caleb Banks, a guy that was very dominant up front, but you can go kind of with any of the front 7 guys. Linebackers played really, really good. This is the first year under Billy Napier where the linebackers actually played really good, so that's good to see, because the linebackers were our worst group the past couple of years, and they dominated really well with some young guys back there. So
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, okay, you went Caleb Banks. Okay, so I actually am gonna go Tyreek Sapp, our big man on the end. Reminded me of Jarvis Moss. I remember that year we had Jarvis Moss and Derek Harvey. I don't know if you remember that year, but these two defensive ends just like you can't block these guys. They come off the edge and it's like instant sack. So Tyreek Sapp, I think, can make that jump next year. He led the team. He had 8 sacks this year, which was lead. I think that was leading on the team. And Tyreek Sapp also, the thing I liked about him is when he got his hands on the running back, at least the the guy was getting tackled. He kind of did struggle a little bit. He could have got a lot more sacks if when he gets to the quarterback. I used to play flag football at Florida in the intramural. It was boys and girls. Super fun. Dude, so fun. And the thing about the intramural game, when you play, you have girls on your team. Um, a girl has to be involved in every other play. So, like if you throw a pass to a guy, the next play has to involve a girl. So either she's got to throw it or she's got to catch it. And so a play is
can you put her in
open or
motion?
closed.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So it kind of so I say that to say like basically like the team that would win it every year, the intramural championship, had a girl at quarterback who I mean, when you get a girl quarterback that can just throw the ball like freaking Eli Manning out there, it's over because she just throws jump passes. So you get a 6'5". Hey, this guy looks 6'5". Jump pass with this girl at quarterback. Game over. But anyway, what we would do is we would have a play um, called Day at the Mall. And my friend Brandon came up with this play. And it would basically be on a close play where the ball had to go to a girl and you had a guy quarterback. So meaning, so what we would do is we would blitz all the girls on our defense. So we'd have 4 girls that would just blitz the quarterback, the guy quarterback, and we'd have all the guys on defense cover all the girls because the the pass had to go to a girl.
Right. Right.
It was an unstoppable defensive play. Now, what made it unstoppable was we would tell the girls because the season first started, we came up with this play. The guy quarterbacks would like spin move and like juke our girls completely out of their pants, and they'd be like falling over that like the Matrix. And I'm like, okay, ladies, this is what you need to do. When you get within a yard of the quarterback, stop and put your feet parallel. Just stop and see where he's going to move. And when he makes his move, then you attack. we got sacks like it was not nobody's business because we got four guys. It's flag football, so you can't block them. So Tyreek Sapp reminded me of that. It's kind of like when he would dart at the quarterback, he'd come off so quickly, the quarterback would just make one little juke and he's like flying the other direction. Like slow down, get to the quarterback, stop, wait for him to make his move, and then get a hand on him. You can't fall for that initial juke. DJ Lagway does a great job of stepping up into the pocket, which you step into better blocks rather than like making a juke and like running around. Like if you go back and watch that Marcel Reed Texas A&M game, we actually got to him. He would just woo, like that, and then we're like falling all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, get to him, stop, wait for him to make his move, and then freaking take his head off. So I think if he learns how to do something like that next year, he's going to be really, really great. But the up and comer award goes to your man, Gumby, George Gums. I'm telling you, this guy, I don't know what happened halfway through the year. I didn't even know who the guy was till you said something. And I was like, okay, I never heard of this guy before. We're just putting anybody in there now. And let me tell you something. Ever since you said, I don't know, I don't remember what game it was. This guy came off the ball like a freaking missile. And he's in the, you can't block him. He's too small because he gets right up underneath. Let me tell you, Gumby, domination factor. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy, him and Sapp, I don't see how you block. You have him and Banks at the, I don't see how you block these guys.
You know what's weird is with Gums, yeah, I can't remember what game it was, but there was a game that I watched him, and the stats didn't show a lot, but he was in the backfield almost every play. I was like, God, this guy's just, and he's disrupting the play, you know what I mean? Letting other guys get some stats for themselves. And, yeah, man, usually it's funny, when you talk about these defensive ends rushing in and stuff, and actually, I think I know why his game got upgraded later on in the season. But usually you look at these guys and you go, man, they need to put on some weight. You know what I mean? Because they're going against these big tackles and these big boys. I could just shove them to the ground. But like you said, I don't think you need to put on weight because he's so slippery and he just gets right under him every single time and putting these tackles on skates. It's crazy. But here's the thing, though. So early on, I think, did a more of an Austin Armstrong defense where we did these creepers, right? And we would drop these guys and we'd drop Gums almost every time. Later on in the season, we started playing more of just a base defense, like we were talking about, right? And when we started doing that, we started bringing him off the edge, and he started being super disruptive. Because I don't know if you remember early on in the season, EJ, we didn't have a pass rush. Nobody was stepping up. Remember, we had TJ Searcy and Boone on the outside, and no one was getting in that backfield at all against Texas A&M and Miami. Especially in the Miami game, there was no pass rush. I don't know if you remember that one. And then we started bringing a little bit. We had Gums on the outside. We started playing LJ McCray more on the outside, and these guys were getting some pressure on the quarterback. And yeah, Gums, man, like you were talking about, just so fast, so speedy on the outside. And I think a lot of that had to do with the scheme change and him getting used to that scheme. So yeah, a guy that I'm super excited to see next year. Something you brought up too is Tyreek Sapp only being a junior. I thought he was a senior, so that's amazing to see.
Yeah, him coming back would be huge. Okay. Real quick, who is your pick to wear number 1 on each side of the ball next year?
There's a difference between who do I think's gonna wear it and who I think should wear it.
I think who should wear it?
Yeah.
Should wear it.
I think on offense is a really good question, right? Because it's like, do you just let Jaden Ball wear the number 1? But the 13's so iconic, it's like that's kind of his number, you know? I don't want to mess with that too much. But I would say my 2 picks would probably be Jaden Ball with the number 1, and or one of the either Trey Wilson, or I would say Mizell. I think those 2 guys are gonna be very, very prominent in our offense with just these quick screens that Napier likes to run with these hitches. And one thing that I love about Mizell and Wilson is even on these stupid hitch routes that Napier loves to run on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, a lot of these other receivers are big body guys, right? Like Badger and DK, so they'll catch it and then they kind of get hit right away. Mizell and Trey Wilson have the ability to catch that ball, spin around real quick, and gain like another 6 to 7 yards. So I think they're going to be very prominent in this Napier offense next year, especially since I expect us to be pretty pass heavy next year with all these receivers coming in, and Lagway having another year. I think we're going to be probably somewhere near 60-40 passing, which I know sounds insane when you look at the team this year. I feel like we were probably 60-40 running the football. But yeah, so anyways, long story short, I would say give it to either Mizell or Wilson or Ball on the offense. Defensively, I love when a defensive end wears number 1. Give it to George Gums, bro. Let Gums wear the number 1. Let him get back there. I think that'd be really dope. Or I don't. Now that I think about it, who's even going to be starting at the DB position next year? Is Bridges? Because Bridges isn't coming back. He's gone, right? I know you have Jakeem Jackson transferring. Is Devin Moore coming back? I'm assuming so. But you have Marshall gone too. So, like, who's stepping up in the secondary? That's going to be really interesting. Is Cormani going to play well? I don't know. But, yeah, I'd probably give it to George Gums, dude. Let that guy. Because he also drops back. I think he's a great number 1 pick.
You got my picks. I go Gums number 1 for the defense. Because remember, it was supposed to be Justice Boone.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do any, and he had every opportunity. So Gums, and then 13 is iconic. It's an iconic number. You're exactly right. But if you got to get number 1 to the best player, it's got to go to Ba. He's got to be number 1. Like they gave it to Montrell.
Yeah.
So, and they better not give it to DJ Lagway because I just bought a DJ Lagway jersey that has number 2 on it.
Yeah.
And so, DJ, if you're listening, you can't change your jersey number. So Jaden Ba should be number 1, and Gum should be number 1.
There you go. Yeah, I think those are great picks. Great picks. All right. Well, that's kind of our season recap, man. We're obviously very happy with it. I agree with EJ. I think a B+ is a really good grade to give it. Started out as an F and then quickly became you know what? There's hope for next year. That's all I really wanted out of this season was hope for the 2025 year, the one I've been pointing to. And we finally got that with the last 4 games getting wins, huge wins over some good quality teams. So that is always good to see.
Yeah, and it's kind of like in school. If you get an F to your first test is an F, you gotta get A's to close.
Yep.
to pass. And
Yep.
we were able to do that.
Yep.
Which was great.
Beautiful, man. And that's what you want to see out of a team is getting better throughout the year. That's exactly what we did. So you gotta give props to Napier and the coaching staff on doing that, right? Because that's what you need to see out of a football team. I would say that's better than winning more games but being more consistent, if that makes sense. I'd rather see a progression of the team, especially a young football team like the 2024 Florida Gators. Yeah, anything else you want to say about this 2024 team before we say goodbye?
So I gave a wide receiver and backfield guy offense. I only gave a line guy. So my secondary offensive or defensive
Yes.
would probably have to go to Gates, even though he got injured.
Oh yeah, I forgot
in the
about
Ole Miss
Gates,
game.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, he got injured in the 3rd play of the game against Ole Miss. Out for the year, kind of nasty looking injury. I don't think anything was torn. He just needed to get a surgery done. But I'm telling you, hopefully that injury doesn't hold him back from being able to be very similar to what he was this year. Because let me tell you, that guy did not miss any freaking tackles. Okay, he was always in the right place at the right time, and he was just our most physical defensive back. So I really hope that he can come back and play next year and be really good.
If Gates can become a good coverage guy, I think you're looking at probably MVP of the defense next year, 100%. Because like you said, with the lack of of knowing who's going to be stepping up in that secondary next year, I think that's going to be huge. Oh yeah, we also have the 2 big 4-star corners coming in, safeties. I forgot about them. So those are 2 big guys, both top 10 guys coming in. So that's going to be huge. But yeah, there you go. 8-5 Florida Gators. It was a fun season. Love watching these guys a couple times in person. Yeah, I'm very excited for the near future. Alrighty. Well, we had a bunch of bowl games this past week that we went on to predict. Also, the first round of the playoffs. So we're going to dive into all that. And then we're going to be going into, of course, the bowl games coming up because it's like, I would say, probably one of the most busy weeks for all the bowl games. There's like 20 different ones we're going to predict, so we'll get into that. But this one was based off spreads. We got screwed over on a couple of these spreads really bad, dude. Wait until you hear some of these. It's brutal. So let's go ahead and start it off with the first one, Memphis versus West Virginia. Memphis favored by 5.5. Memphis wins by 5 points. We both picked Memphis to cover, and they only win by 5. So we both got that wrong. That spread number, Vegas knows what they're doing, dude. That's terrible. It's also such a wonky score. It's 42-37, like just weird. So yeah, sadly, we both get that one wrong. This was a really fun game to watch, though, man. It was super exciting. West Virginia tried to come back late, didn't happen. Fun game there and a good win for Memphis.
Yeah, man.
That one. Next one we have Western Kentucky versus James Madison. James Madison favored by 7.5. We both picked James Madison, and James Madison actually covers. They win 27-17. Yeah, the Western Kentucky, I love watching their offense because they're such a air raid offense, with Bailey Zapp a couple years ago. I think didn't he break the passing touchdown record, Joe Burrows, in a season? And then you have this guy this year. Haven't really watched them too much, but they're so much fun to watch because, yeah, they just throw the ball all over the field. Their guy had 300 yards passing and close to 8 yards of completion for 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, fun game. James Madison covers. We both picked James Madison. So, love that. Next one we have California versus UNLV. Cal favored by 1.5, even without their starting quarterback, which was really weird. And UNLV, Dan Mullen was on the screen a lot in this game in the broadcast booth because he's obviously the new head coach for UNLV. And UNLV gets it done. They win 24-13. This was a big win for UNLV. They had control the whole game pretty much. So, I expected this. Big run game for UNLV in this game because Hajj Malik Williams, the quarterback for UNLV, plays another horrendous game. I don't know. They got to figure out something there at quarterback, especially with Dan Mullen as the offensive coordinator. He loves a good quarterback. So we'll see what they do there if he goes in the transfer portal or what they go from there. We both picked UNLV to cover and win that one. This next game, EJ, I actually watched this full game. I don't know about you. Georgia Southern favored by 6.5 against Sam Houston State. And Georgia Southern, this is such a weird game. I picked, let me see real quick. Let me get this up real quick. Right there. I picked Sam Houston originally, and then while we were making the picks, I actually changed it to Georgia Southern and said, you know what? Georgia Southern's gonna win by a touchdown and cover. And they lose 31-26. EJ, you actually picked Sam Houston to cover to keep it close, so you actually got this one right. So, yeah, huge for you. Huge for you. This one bit me in the butt, man. My Bowl Mania got screwed up from this. This is my one loss on Bowl Mania, and it stopped pretty. But yeah, big win for you, man. This was a really fun game to watch. I expect this to have way more defense than what it actually had. It was actually a really entertaining game. This Georgia Southern we talked about this, somehow stayed in this game with 6 turnovers in this game. Their quarterback threw 4 interceptions. I sent EJ a voice note while watching it, and I was like, bro, they're getting momentum. They're about to score. Let's go. Even though this guy's throwing 2-3 picks, literally right when I stopped that voice note and send it to EJ, he throws another interception. It was a horrible pick. and then I come right back with EJ and say, he just threw another pick. My Bowl Mania screwed. RIP. The thing about this Georgia Southern quarterback, I don't know if you watched EJ, he would step up in the pocket when he didn't need to, right into a sack, and then try to throw over a defensive tackle right in his face that's like 4 inches taller than him and has like a 10-inch wingspan on him. So he just is right here, so he has to throw the ball way high to get it over him or do these weird arm angles. And that's why he kept throwing interceptions. So yeah, crazy game, man.
Yeah, it I never will pick against Georgia Southern again since they, even after this game, given what happened in 2013 when they came to the swamp and beat us. Now, here's the reality. When they came to the swamp and beat us, they ran the triple option. So instead of throwing 4 interceptions, maybe they should have run the triple option in this game. so
Work
so
for
that's
Navy.
what happens. Yeah, that's what happens when you go from triple option to spread. You don't know how to throw. So yeah, this was. I mean, French wasn't that bad of a quarterback this season, right? I mean, he had thrown. Let me see. He had thrown. He thrown 7 interceptions throughout the whole year, and then he throws 4 in this one game. So that was a little bit off. But yeah, I'll probably still pick Georgia Southern in the future just because we owe it to them as Gators. But interesting game and funny that you watched the whole thing.
Yeah, no, dude, I was like, because I don't know if you remember last week, I was like, this is the one bowl game out of all of them that I'm most worried about because it can go either
So
way.
you watched.
And what's crazy is Georgia Southern's like, they're a good football team, and they were the better football team in this game. And we were talking about that, EJ. It's like, how do you have like a -4 turnover game and you still only lose by like 1 score? So they were the better football team. It just, oh, dude, those picks. They also came at the worst possible times when they're driving down the field.
Yeah.
And so all you can do is feel for Georgia Southern fans, dude. But yeah, I watched the whole thing, baby. Next game we have Ohio favored by 3.5 against Jacksonville State. EJ, last minute you switched over to Ohio, and that was not a good choice because Ohio only wins by 3 points, not 3.5, 30-27 in this game. We both got screwed. So bad, man. There's literally 2 games, like I said earlier with Memphis. We've been off by half a point in 2 games. That's what's the most annoying here. So yeah, you should have went with your gut, man, and picked Jacksonville State. Ohio, listen, I still love this team. Parker Navarro still played a great game. I just thought that they would win by more than 3.5.
Ohio, what's going on here, my friends? Yeah, pretty interesting game though. I mean, it was a very evenly matched game. I mean, both teams gained as many yards, had the ball. Ohio ran the ball a lot more, so they did time of possession. Yeah, interesting game. 42 yards rushing for Jacksonville State on 35 attempts.
Also, there was
Talk about getting stoned.
Dude, there was a run in this game. EJ, look it up if you haven't seen it. There was like a 30-yard run that this guy carried a whole pile on top of him. I've never seen anything like it. No, bro, it was crazy. Like, he literally got hit like at a 5-yard gain, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, right? And then they don't blow the whistle, and he's kind of going forward a little bit. And then you see these big, like, Jacksonville State, I think it was Jacksonville State that ran it. I can't remember what it was, but the big offensive linemen that just, like, pick him up and start carrying him. And they go down the field, like, 30 yards. This guy's, like, doing spin moves in there. It was unreal.
I see the highlight here that I could watch.
I
gotta watch that.
So I was watching that live with my dad, bro. Another game I watched live, and dude, it was like I was like, "What's going?" I was starting screaming, jumping around. I love college football, man. It's great. So really fun play there in this game. But yeah, Jacksonville State started coming back there late. I was worried and pretty pissed when they made it a 3-point game. Next one we have. Now we're getting into the college football playoff first round picks. Is our bracket going to stand? Let's get into it. Notre Dame favored by 7.5 against Indiana. I watched this full game, and man, I was so disappointed with Indiana. I love Curtis O'Rourke. I love Indiana as a football team, but Curtis O'Rourke is a guy that just does not play well against teams that are more talented. You know what I mean? He plays great against bad teams. I guess that's what the whole Indiana football program as a whole. But God, when he plays against defenses that are actually good, he falls apart. Whole offense falls apart. That's exactly what happened in this game. I mean, this final score wasn't it 27-17? 27-17. And it was just, that score so deceiving because, man, it was an absolute blowout by Notre Dame in this defense. I mean, Indiana could not get anything going at all.
Yeah, let's look at the talent profile. And that's all you need to see. Indiana, 10 blue chip players on your roster, 10 4-star players on your roster. Notre Dame, 58 blue chip players on your roster, 57 four stars. You got 1 5-star on your team. So you're outmanned 3-1, 4-1, hell, 5-1. And everything is at the line of scrimmage. Kirk Cignetti is a good coach. He's a really, really good coach. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you run your offense to be successful against the schedule that you play with the players you have on your roster. And Indiana runs this run and shoot offense that is successful against, the 80th ranked strength of schedule and the worst teams in the Big Ten. But when you play teams like Notre Dame, who can get pressure immediately, defend on the back end, you're not going to be as successful. Remember, Indiana came into this game, and the commentators they keep saying, Indiana got the #1 run defense in the country. They're going to let's see what they can do against the 99-yard touchdown run before you could get your freaking popcorn out of the stands. So 99-yard touchdown run against the #1 run defense in the nation. Are you kidding me? So
longest rush in playoff history.
so and it's the first, I think it was the first touchdown in the 12-team playoff. So the reality is you didn't have the #1 run defense in the country because you were playing teams that don't run the ball, or you were playing teams that didn't have the ability to run the ball. And then Notre Dame just sort of coasted from then on out because they saw no, Indiana can't really score. So it was 27-3, I think, in this game. And then Indiana scored a couple of mop-up duty touchdowns late to try to make it, the final score look closer than what it was. But yeah, 200 yards rushing to Notre Dame, 200 yards passing. Riley Leonard and Love are powerful guys that can just run the ball right up the middle. It'll be an interesting game seeing them against Georgia. But yeah, Indiana outclassed, outmanned. I love Cignetti. He's a good coach. This team shouldn't have been anywhere near a playoff. I think we talked about that. People say, well, they went 11-1. Yeah, but here's a stat, and we're going to talk about this in these other games. The 4 teams that lost in the playoff are a combined 1-4 against playoff teams. Do you know who the 1 win was?
Who?
Clemson beating SMU. So it doesn't even count. So it doesn't even count. Yeah. So it doesn't even count because, of course, one of them is going to win.
Yeah.
So Indiana didn't beat anybody in the playoffs. SMU didn't beat anybody in the playoffs. Clemson beat SMU, which doesn't really count. And Tennessee, who we'll talk about, didn't beat anyone who's in the playoffs. So again, it's kind of like, who are we picking? And there's a couple other teams that hadn't beat a playoff team too. I wouldn't bet on those teams going too far.
Nope. I'm glad you brought that up. Like you said, people are hating on Indiana, and I think you really got to give credit to Kurt Cignetti. Like, there's not many coaches that can come into a 9-3 program and make them a playoff team the first year, right? Make them an 11-1 team in the regular season the first year. So you really have to give him props at what he's done at Indiana. He got his money. He's going to be there for a long time, 8-year extension. There's going to be some rough years, I'm sure, but he's a good head coach, fun personality. I like there's coaches that I can't stand their cockiness, like Lane Kiffin, but I love Kurt Signetti, man. I love that that ego he has. It's perfect. So I love Indiana. I love that football team. But like you said, did not deserve to share the stage with the Notre Dame team, in my opinion, that could win it all. I think they could make it to the national championship. That's not totally impossible. Do I have them making it? I don't know. You guys should go and join our bracket in the description down below. Click that link. You guys can go look at my bracket there. And we're of course going to talk about it next week with the quarterfinals a couple days after. So be ready for that. But yeah, I mean they I can't even say they held their own because they didn't in this game. Great win for Notre Dame. We both picked Notre Dame to cover the 7.5, and they did. So good for them. Next game was a game that I watched the first half of, and I was smiling ear to ear, having a great time. SMU gets clobbered by Penn State, who's favored by 8.5. We both picked Penn State to win and to cover, and they do. Penn State wins 38-10. Penn State kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, but God, I mean, SMU looked lost. They looked like they didn't know what was going on. They looked like a team from Texas playing in Pennsylvania in December. I mean, they didn't even look like they practiced at certain points, man. Penn State was hungry. That stadium was rocking. And yeah, just got out physicaled. So here's the thing with SMU that I was mentioning to a lot of people. I was like, SMU's a team who doesn't start fast. They actually are known to have turnovers early in games and to be down in games, but then they kind of come back, right? I mean, look at that. What game? Was it against Pitt where they had like 8 turnovers in that game and they still won it? It was weird. There was a game where they had like 8 turnovers in a game, not even exaggerating, and they somehow still won the game. And you can't have that against Penn State, a team that I'm very high on right now. And that's what happened. They start the game off throwing a couple picks, right? Really bad interceptions. Kevin Jennings is a guy that needs to be the leader of the team, that he's a guy who needs to have momentum in the game for the rest of his team to have that momentum and to have that confidence. And they didn't have that. They couldn't lean on him. He looked lost out there early on in this game. And, SMU falls apart. There, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this was another one of those talent gap type of games. I mean, as I'm looking at the stats here, let me see really quick here. SMU actually, okay, they got 25 blue chip players on their team, which is a lot more than 10 in Indiana, 25. But Penn State had 53.
Jeez, so double.
So you're, double your talent. And the reason why that's so important is once you want to keep your defensive line fresh, your defense fresh, and when you can bring in guys who are just as good as guys that were starting, now all of a sudden it's kind of like, if you're SMU, you got to actually be good on the line of scrimmage. And SMU, you weren't. I think you ran the ball for what in this game? 58 yards on 36 attempts, 1.6 yards a rush. You can't play against Penn State and just be incapable of doing anything at the line of scrimmage. Oh, the Duke game was the game where SMU had 6 turnovers and still was able to win 28-27. So the thing is, when you look at games like this, if you're Penn State, your strategy is, I don't think they can score on us, even though they've got this explosive offense in the ACC. Let's just stone them and get healthy, because we need to be healthy in the The next 3 games are going to be the ones that are going to be difficult, not this one. And it just goes to show that the playoff bracket, as we had discussed, was a joke because SMU, when it came down to actually assessing who should be in the playoff, you got to know, like, if you haven't played anyone that's in the playoff and you're not that same caliber, it's okay to be in and be like the number 12 seed. But if you're in and you're over teams that have more talent than Penn State, that can actually go toe to toe with Penn State, it just doesn't make a good product. And it's a travesty. And it goes back to, well, why did they put SMU in? Well, they put SMU in because they were 11-1 in the ACC, which the ACC is trash, by the way. Spoiler alert, is trash.
Yep.
And uh the ACC, the guy went 13-0 last year and you didn't put him in. So now all of a sudden you got to put him in and they still get hammered. So at some point we have to start thinking about who's the better team. We all know who are better teams than SMU, because I'm telling you right now, I can give you 5 different teams that would have given Penn State a game. Like that would have been like, uh-oh, like who's going to win this game?
Yep.
But they went with SMU and you get ran over. So there you go.
After they lose against a Clemson team that does not have a good resume at all. It doesn't make any sense. Like the whole thing's a joke, and there's some. I want to talk about the playoff and its structure in more depth. Like me and EJ were actually talking about it before we clicked record. But I want to get through these next few games, which back it up even more, our argument, right? So I want to get into those as well, so we can include those in the conversation. But yeah, I mean, this right here, I'm glad it happened because it sucked to watch. But it proves that the playoff structure is a joke. Gives them an even bigger reason to restructure this whole thing. Yeah, it's terrible to see. Next game, I did not see a lot of this one. I did watch the fourth quarter, but when Clemson kind of made it close again, kind of. But I think it was a one-score game. Clemson falls to Texas. Texas favored by 11.5. We both picked Texas to win and to cover, and they do. They win 38-24. One of the stats that really jumped out at me, EJ, is the fact that Texas had 300 yards rushing, which is unreal. That's like Florida versus Georgia in 2015 with Matt Jones and Kelvin Taylor. They could not stop these guys in the backfield. And remember, Texas has like 2 of their starting running backs that got hurt in fall. So these are like 3rd and 4th stringers out here. Wisner and this other guy, they were 3rd and 4th string on the depth chart, and they come in here and play this well. Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of this game. The one thing I will say is Texas is such a vulnerable football team. If they can run the football, Quinn Ewers plays okay. But if Texas can't run the football and Quinn Ewers has to pass, over 30 times a game, they're not winning a football game doing that. And this game proved it even more. He only had to throw the ball 24 times. 8 yards a completion. Still threw an interception. I did not see what the interception was. But, I mean, look, when you have guys running it for 10 yards a carry, 7 yards a carry, 7 yards, like, there's going to be open holes down the field because those linebackers are going to come up a little bit, right? So, and they might even play a single high at times. So, yeah, EJ, what jumped out at you in this game? I know you said that the game was a lot. It was a pretty easy game for Texas. And the score can be pretty deceiving. So tell me a little bit about what you thought of it.
Yeah. So of all the first round games, this actually was the most evenly matched game from a talent profile standpoint. So you're looking at the talent on both teams. Texas is the 4th most talented roster. Clemson is the 5th most talented roster. Clemson 52 blue chippers, Texas 61. So you're talking about pretty much equal talent. The storyline between Ewers and Klubnik, they both went against each other in the Texas high school championship. Now they're going against each other in the playoff. Uh, Klubnik won the first one. Ewers gets to win this one. Um, Texas came into the game averaging 170 yards rushing, around 165 or something like that yards rushing. And they get 292 in this one. Now, 77 of them did come off of one run. Jaden Blue went 77 yards on actually a touchdown that was very important for them to score because at that point it was 31-24. Texas went up 31-10 in the game. It was 28-10, and they didn't score a touchdown in the red zone, so then they had to kick a field goal, make it 31-10. And then Clemson comes back, makes a little comeback, scores 2 touchdowns. The thing about Clemson is they're just not able to get big plays. They were able to get a couple of big time throws though in this game. TJ Moore had a 30-yard catch. Williams, I remember, had a couple of big catches in this game. So I was kind of surprised to see that. And then the Texas defense pretty much took away Clemson's ability to run. And so it was all Klubnik in this game trying to throw the ball, which he did a fairly good job. 26 out of 43, only one interception, 336 yards passing in this game. So from a yardage standpoint, it was fairly even. Take away the 77-yard touchdown run, and it's pretty much equal. So this was the game that I kind of felt Clemson just was not as good of a team as Texas. And Texas was going to win this game. It's at home. But it was a game where you're not going to look at it and see Texas just clobbering them because Clemson, from a talent profile standpoint, is equivalent to Texas. But the other interesting thing is the Florida Gators schedule, where it graded out this year, was like number 17 in the nation in terms of you're playing a team that is ranked the 17th highest FPI team in the nation, which is the Clemson Tigers. And so it's like the Florida Gators played a schedule this year that it's like you're playing Clemson Tigers every single week.
That's crazy.
Is what that schedule grades out to. And which means you go 8-5 and you play Clemson 13 times in a row. That's pretty good, right? So Texas is another team. I completely agree with you. They have some vulnerabilities. The difference in this game is Clemson. Their defense does not have that ability to ball hawk on the back end. And then they don't have that power run game to really give Texas defense some issues. From a balance standpoint. So that's how this game ended up. Texas was the better team. They were just going to win this game. This is probably how the Texas-Florida game would have gone if DJ Lagway was not hurt. It probably would have been a lot closer. Texas would have still won. They would have, probably won by 2 touchdowns. They were just on that day. But it would have been a little bit closer because I think our run game and our ability to throw with Lagway would have kept us relevant in the game. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I totally agree, by the way. I think it was a great point. I could see that score being the Florida versus Texas game. That's a really good point. Next one, last one that, man, listen, I thought this game would be closer than what it was, but I did say last week on the podcast, and I did tell everyone, I do think Ohio State's going to win by 2 scores. Well, Ohio State won by like 4. They win 42-17. They were favored by 7.5. EJ picked Tennessee to cover. I picked Ohio State to cover. And thank God EJ did, because he would have beat me this week in the overall record. So I needed this to happen for us to be even. We both finished the season, or not season, but the week 6-3. So all time I'm 37, Yeah, I'm 37-33. EJ's 38-32. So he still got me by one game, which sucks. But hopefully I get that back. Yeah, man. Wow, this game, I mean, right from the get-go, it just was unbelievable. It looked like Tennessee just didn't want to be there. Um, it was Ohio State scores 21 points in the first quarter. I mean, we're talking Will Howard, in my opinion, his best game as an Ohio State Buckeye.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, his throws to Jeremiah Smith, the true freshman, which I think is going to be the next Devontae Smith, the guy that's going to be up for Heisman next year. Um, I mean, he was just throwing dots. Like, these were super accurate downfield, which is something that Will Howard struggled with this year, was throwing the ball down the field. At least accuracy wise, like he would complete them, but they were tough catches for the receiver. But there was multiple times this game where it's like you can't throw the ball any better, and the coverage from this Tennessee secondary was not that bad in this game, and he just was placing the ball beautifully. And then, of course, you have the running backs of Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins, but especially Henderson, man. There was a couple big rushes in this game for touchdowns where Henderson just had these Tennessee players on skates. Like, I mean, there was a couple jukes where you're like, oh my God. I don't know if it was the weather that got to the Tennessee players because it was pretty cold. It was like, a night game in Columbus, which Ohio State fans never get now. But over 100,000 people at this game. It was loud. It was rocking. You could feel the energy through the screen. And look, I knew this. I didn't think the score was going to be this bad, but at halftime it was 21-10, and I was like, okay, it's a two-score game. This is exactly kind of how I felt. And I thought maybe Tennessee might keep it close in the second half. Ohio State comes out, scores 2 touchdowns. It's just like, it's 35-10. You're like, what is happening, man? I mean, it was unbelievable. I think you saw a Tennessee team that didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff. Tennessee team that, like you were talking about, EJ, does not have any good wins. I mean, they have a decent win against Alabama, which is a rivalry game, a good win against us. But other than that, what do they have to stand on? Nothing. Ole Miss has more to stand on than them. And people were really high on Nico again in this game. Josh Pate, all these big analysts were like, Tennessee, they can make it to the national. They can win it all. Nico's a good quarterback. Nico went 14 of 31 for 104 yards, an average of 3 yards of completion. I don't understand the love for this guy. I think he's I don't even think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a bad quarterback. I stand beside that. He cannot throw the ball down the field in an offense where you need to be able to throw the ball down the field. He does not read the field well. He gets happy feet in the backfield, and that showed a lot in this football game. So this Tennessee team looked no different than what I expected. I will say this. I expected their front seven to play way better in this game. Their defensive line and their linebackers, and they couldn't stop. They couldn't stop the run. They could not stop. It was brutal. They got manhandled by this Ohio State offense, which has struggled a lot this season with injuries and all kinds of stuff, and just did not look pretty for this Tennessee team. Ohio State on the other side looked like a Final Four team. They played really, really well in this game, and just absolutely dominated. Like this game wasn't even close, man. It was one of the biggest probably the biggest blowout in the playoff. It was unreal.
Yeah, Tennessee probably should have just dressed up in Michigan uniforms in this game. Maybe that would have spooked Ohio State a little bit. But I sent you a message because the reason I was very optimistic about Tennessee keeping this game close was, I with my nephew going to Tennessee, or having went to Tennessee and he's transferred since then, I'm still part of a lot of the Tennessee fan base, like message boards and stuff like that. And the only thing I heard the whole before this game, we're invading the shoe. We're invading the shoe. The shoe's going to be on the wrong foot, Ohio State. We're coming to take over the shoe. Rocky Top. It's going to be Neyland. What do they say? Neyland North is what this is going to be.
They're gonna plant the flag. I heard that too.
We're going to plant the flag with Smokey so we don't get a felony. So, and then what happened? You got absolutely They took Smokey away. They took him out of the cage and they walked him. Okay. That's exactly what happened. I said, did you guys even get off the bus in this game? Heupel? Heupel. But then it goes back to what we were talking about. If we criticize teams like SMU and Indiana for not having any quality wins, because everybody's obsessed with losses in college, and that's what pisses me off. College basketball. Why is Florida ranked behind? We're undefeated in basketball. Why are we ranked behind teams with 2 losses? Because the teams with 2 losses have multiple high quality wins against top 5 teams. So they look at Florida in basketball and they say, well, they don't have any, they have an opportunity to get some good wins, but they just don't have any, even though they're undefeated. In football, it's no, Florida's number 1. They haven't lost. They haven't lost. They have no losses. Put them at number 1. If you don't have any wins against really good teams that are competing for the title, it's an indicator of something. It's an indicator that you haven't shown at any point in the year you have the potential of beating a top team. Tennessee is one of those teams. You didn't beat a team that's in the playoff. You played Alabama, and that's what you're resting your laurels on. That, oh, we beat Alabama, so now we should be in the playoff. Well, Alabama wasn't in the playoff, people. And everyone was crying that they shouldn't have been in because they lost to Oklahoma. So you didn't beat anyone. Your second best win was against us, which if you had Billy Napier, if he was, let's say he was hung over before the game and you had somebody else calling the plays, we probably win that game. So you lost to Arkansas. The reality is Tennessee was completely outclassed in this game. And it's, again, the talent profile. 70 blue chips on Ohio State, 41 for Tennessee. That's a 2 deep.
70?
2 deep. 70.
Ooh.
That's a 2 deep difference in blue chip talent. And when you look at Tennessee, when they played against Georgia this year, that's the team in the SEC that has the same talent profile as Ohio State, the same exact number of blue chip players at all different levels: quarterback, wide receiver, D-line, O-line, running back. Georgia, Ohio State, the exact same team. The only difference is when Tennessee plays Georgia, you get stoned. And Georgia this year didn't have the ability to go deep. And that is what baffled me about the way that Tennessee played this game defensively. You're playing this game like you're playing Kentucky. Spoiler alert, Tennessee, Banks, defensive coordinator. This ain't Kentucky. This is a team that when they throw the ball deep, guess what's going to happen? Dime. So you don't have the ability to guard one-on-one. You should have had an umbrella defense and just said, hey, if they run it and they go between the 20s and drive and get to the red zone, that's our best bet. Let's stop them in the red zone. But we cannot give up 40 yards. We can't give up 14 passes that are 20 yards. And guess what? You didn't have a clue with your defensive coordinator. Your defense was trash. And then exactly like you said, Nico, exposed. All year, incapable of stretching the defense. The whole Heupel offense is predicated on run up the middle, go deep. If you can't do those 2 things, you're screwed. He can't throw deep. He can't throw accurately down the field. That's going to be a problem for them next year to see, is he going to take the next step? I don't think so. Tennessee probably shouldn't have been in. I mean, you look at other teams. South Carolina lost 3 games, but much better team right now. Even though Tennessee beat Alabama, you probably can't put them in over Alabama, but hell, Alabama wouldn't have looked this bad. And who's the other team? Ole Miss. Ole Miss at least can score. So, this was just a very Not a great look for the SEC going in there getting dog walked. But Ohio State, man, they look good. You got to give it to them. Got to give it. Now they got to play Oregon, which is doesn't make any sense whatsoever. College football playoff committee. That's like the national championship game.
It's gonna be a great rematch, man. Was it like a 2-point game?
I think it was a 1-point game, and they ended up having to change the rules because of how Oregon played it, but it just shouldn't be a quarterfinal game. I mean, let's just be so. Ohio State, great job. You dominated. Tennessee fans, humiliation.
There you go. It was funny too because like Ohio State was just inviting Tennessee to run the football, but they could not. Like, dude, Ohio State, they weren't even stacking the box. They only had like 4 guys at sometimes, and Tennessee could not run the ball on them, man. It was wild to see. And when you can't run the ball with the Josh Heupel offense like you were talking about, then they're playing too high every time. You can't hit them deep. So yeah, right. It was pretty insane. And like you were talking about when you talk about the college football playoff, like it's really funny when you look outside of the top 8 for the college football playoff. I mean, the drop is unbelievable. That's where you see teams like Clemson. That's where you see teams like Tennessee, SMU, right? And it's like, if this isn't an example of what's to come, if we stay with this same profile of having this many teams, because like I was just telling you this, EJ, I'm on, I follow all these SEC accounts and college football accounts on Instagram, and I'm going through the comment section because, Lane Kiffin has been crying like always, about how they should have made it. And people are like, you got the people saying, oh, they would have been better than Tennessee. They have a better record, which I agree with. And they're like, oh, well, then they should have lost against Kentucky, which I agree with. And it's like, why are we having this argument where people are going back and forth thinking that there's a right answer to this when it's the wrong problem? The right problem we need to be looking at is the fact that we shouldn't even have 12 teams. There's no point because there's going to be teams that get in that don't deserve it that are horrific. And EJ, you brought up a statistic when we first started looking at the playoff like 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe now to this point. And you were like, when you look at the top outside of the top 7, the drop off of these teams is just massive. It is, unbelievable. And it's true outside of the top 8. Now look what's happening. Look at the drop off. It's horrendous. 6 to 8 teams is perfect. No automatic buy-ins. That's a horrific system. And those conference championships won't mean anything anymore. Yeah, they will. Because you better win that game to make it. Just I don't understand the arguments by these people. It should be 6 to 8 teams. I think that this showed why there needs to be 6 to 8 teams. They're going to change it this offseason, EJ. I'm just worried that it's going to be 12, maybe in 14 teams now with no automatic buy-ins. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's going to hopefully some aspect will improve of what we don't like. But to your point, I think if they were going to expand it, I would have went with 6 teams because very rarely is the best team in the country outside of the top 4 people. The best team in the country is always likely to be in the top 4. Okay, not the top 4 of the committee with Boise State, but who did we have? We had Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State. Now, the 6 teams would have probably been, you put Ohio State in there, and then who's the 7th team? 6th team?
Well, are you going off of the automatic buy-ins, or are you going off of the
just like
the actual ranking? The actual ranking goes Oregon. I have it pulled up. Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana.
Okay, let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Let's stop right there. That is all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you Oregon and Georgia bye. And then who is number 3?
Texas.
Okay. Texas versus Ohio State in playoff number 1. And then who's number 4?
Then 4 is Penn State and Notre Dame.
Penn State, Notre Dame, playoff.
Well, here's one other thing too. Listen,
That's it.
listen to the next 4 teams after the top 6: Tennessee, Indiana, Boise State, SMU.
Trash.
It's insane.
Trash. Florida, listen, we are just as good as Tennessee. I mean,
Yep.
people are like, well, the Gators didn't, they lost 5 games. Yeah, because we had to play Texas and Georgia, which Tennessee didn't. And they played Georgia and got beat with their starting quarterback way worse than we did. And we had make a wish kid at quarterback. So the reality is the top 6 are all you need. Why do we need to watch SMU get dog walked? So it should have been top 6. Top 8, if you can't negotiate with the conferences, because the conferences are going to say, we will not support a playoff that doesn't include our conference champion as an automatic qualifier. Okay. Okay. We'll put your conference champion in there, and you're not even better than the 5th best team in the SEC, but we'll put you in there. So if that's where they want to go, it's 8. And that's it with no buys.
Ooh, that's a really good point, EJ. If you want to expand, give those bottom 2 to the next conference champions. You know what I mean, or however you want to kind of do. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good structure.
Yeah,
I like that.
but when you get past, honestly, the top 6, and the top 6 would have been a wonderful playoff last year, because Florida State would have been crying that they didn't get in, even though they were going to get dog walked. Well, I don't know. Jared Verse, that defensive end that they had, the guy was a monster.
Monster.
He
That
was
whole
basically
defense.
like he was basically like Juggernaut. You couldn't stop him. Like, you put something in front of him, he'd blow it up and he'd sack you. But he didn't play. So now that would have been a great playoff game, because the thing is, Washington's undefeated. They were going to get destroyed. They were going to Michigan, Alabama. I went to that game, Rose Bowl. That was the national championship game. Okay. So they need to fix it where it's 8 teams with, you have 4 conference champions of the Power 4, and then the 8th seed is the Boise State. Okay. Then that means the 1 seed gets to play whoever that group of 5 team is as a kind of a cakewalk into the next round. And then you actually have some legitimate games. You have legitimate games outside of that. So, they got to change this format. And then the other thing that is really terrible about the format, and then I'll shut up, is how they do the seeding. It's a disingenuous seeding. It's a disingenuous seeding. When you put Boise State at number 3, you are rewarding, and I said this before, you're rewarding Penn State. And you're penalizing Ohio State, because what or Oregon, because you're artificially moving higher rated seeded teams down and inflating teams who shouldn't be anywhere near the top 3. Boise State. Let's take it. We just talked about Georgia Southern. I remember watching the opening game of the year. Does anyone remember that game? Boise State versus Georgia Southern? Georgia Southern's running all over the field with their hair on fire. They scored 50 points. They had 50 points. And that's the team that we're putting in as number 3. So you can't now. Then people say, well, yeah, but Boise State played Oregon and it was a close game. So was the Fiesta Bowl in 2014 or whatever the hell that was. And that didn't stop us. And then people always make that argument. Well, Boise State, they played in the Fiesta Bowl. Guys, I'm not talking about a one-time, make-a-wish game. I'm talking about every single week you're playing a team equivalent to Clemson Tigers. Every 13 games in a row. Not one game you play Clemson and then that's it. No. 13 games in a row. That is what shows if you're worth it or not. So to me, they need to make some reform. It's trash. Oregon should not be playing Ohio State. Both those teams are elite, should not be playing in this next round. They should be, or Arizona State. Okay, you won the Big 12. Okay, congratulations. We've got more. The SEC has more playoff teams than you have players going to the NFL. Okay, so why the hell are is Arizona State getting a bye?
Joke.
So if you want to put them in because the conferences are like, well, we if we're going to be a part of it, then our team has to be in the championship or the playoff. Okay, fine. But outside of that, 3 more teams, top 8, that's it.
That's a great point, man. I love giving the that like 8th seed to that next conference champion. I think that's amazing. They didn't have to play the hardest team outside of the bye. You know what I mean? They have to have that challenge. I think that's amazing. I think it's a great point. Yeah, but sadly, we have a committee that if they were gonna, if that was on their horizon for them, then they would have done it already. But they're not. You know what I mean? There's some. I think also too, EJ, the more games, the more money they make. I think they're viewing it from that standpoint as well. But I'm telling you right now, I really hope Texas goes in there and murders Arizona State. I hope so, dude. I love Scadaboo as a running back, but God, I hope they go in there and just destroy them in Tempe, Arizona, because that'll send a real message to the committee. But we'll see. So there you go. Those are our a recap of last week. Like I said, both 6-3. Really fun week. We're gonna talk about this upcoming week of all these bowl games. There's a lot to get to. We're gonna be doing pick'ems. We're not gonna be doing spread picks. We're just gonna pick whoever we think is gonna win. Because there's just so many games. We have like 20 games we're gonna be going through here. So EJ, you ready to go through these?
Let's do it. Let's knock them out.
Let's get it. Coastal Carolina. What's their mascot name? The Chanticleers? The Chanticleers? I don't know. It's weird. The Coastal Carolina Mohawk chicken-looking things are going against the UTSA Roadrunners in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So Coastal Carolina's playing in their own stadium, I think. That's interesting. I have UTSA winning. I think UTSA is the better team. They almost beat Army, actually, and they have a couple good wins, so I'm going UTSA. They also beat Memphis, top 25 team.
Oh, man. So we're giving away our bowl mania. So here's the deal. I'm going to go Coastal Carolina. Wait, did you go UTSA?
I'm going UTSA.
Okay, I'm going Coastal Carolina. Who the hell knows who's playing in this game? Hell, the chicken leg thing mascot might be at quarterback. You never know. Coastal Carolina.
Great pick. Great pick. By the way, UTSA favored by 10.5 in that game. We're not going off of that. That's just a really interesting.
Okay, they must know that the chicken head thing play a quarterback.
It's like the mascot mashup from the old NCAA games. Next one we got the NIU versus Fresno State in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. One of my favorite bowl games. Love the name. I pick Fresno State to win. Northern Illinois, listen, they did beat Notre Dame, but God, they've been absolute garbage pretty much since then. I like Fresno State. I think they've played a little bit more consistent.
So you're going Fresno. Wait, I think I screwed up my picks here. Let me see. Okay, you're going Fresno. All right, I'm going Northern Illinois. But the only reason I'm picking Northern Illinois is because you beat Notre Dame. Huskies, get it done.
There you go. Good pick.
Who's the? This is a battle of who let the dogs out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, a pretty cool uniform matchup. I really like both their unis. Next one we got. You're going to be at this one. The Hawaii Bowl. South Florida Bulls play the San Jose State Spartans. I'm picking South Florida to win just for your nephew. Just tell him don't screw me over. Let's get the win.
Yes. USF. I'm going South Florida Bulls. San Jose State, they're from California. Maybe we should pick them because they're in California, but not so fast. South Florida Bulls.
There you go. Great pick. Next one, Game Above Sports Bowl. Interesting. The Pittsburgh Panthers versus the Toledo Rockets. Pitt's actually favored by 6.5. So they really expect them to win this game. And I do have Pitt winning. Look, I mean, they obviously started off, I think, 7-0. Lost their last 5 games. But when you look at their schedule, it's like they've played some pretty good teams in those 5 games. I don't think Toledo's on the same level as those teams they played, except for maybe Boston College, but I have Pitt winning this game.
Ooh. All right. So I went with the upset Toledo Rockets in this one. Um, Pitt just looks slow. I mean, they got there. I'm just like, dude, throw the ball. No, incomplete. You can't even run to the outside. Toledo, they beat Mississippi State. So they got to have somebody back there running the ball. Rockets.
There you go. Toledo's actually a pretty good little team, so that would not surprise me. That's going to be a pretty fun game to watch the day after Christmas. Next, we have the Rate Bowl. That's it. That's the name. Rate Bowl. I don't know what company that is. Rutgers is playing Kansas State. Kansas State, this is going to be another great game here. Rutgers is a feisty little team, man. They kind of fell apart a little bit late, but still a good little team there against Kansas State. I'm picking Kansas State to win. I like Avery Johnson. I think he's going to play a decent game here and do enough to get the win.
KSU, the Wildcats getting wild. Wait, where's the Rate Bowl at?
I've never heard of it before. Let me look it up. Phoenix popped up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Rutgers. You're way too far from home, my friends. Kansas State, get it done.
Great pick. Next one, the 68 Ventures Bowl. We have the Arkansas State Red Wolves against the Bowling Green Falcons. Bowling Green, a team that I used to play all the time with back in NCAA 13, way back in the day on the PS3. I pick Bowling Green to get the win here.
Okay, so Bowling Green is favored by a touchdown in this game. Oh, man. For some reason, I want to pick Arkansas State in this game because here's the reality. Wait, who's the head coach of Arkansas State? Arkansas State is like the rehab job of the SEC. If you get fired, you automatically become coach of Arkansas State.
Oh, wait, Butch Jones is the what?
Yes.
What?
So, exactly. And there's been other, like, I feel like Gus Malzahn was their coach at one point. They had another coach. So I'm going to go Arkansas State. Even though I'm not really that confident, I statistically, Bowling Green should be the favorite. They're better at pretty much every statistic. But it's bowl season. Nobody cares. Arkansas State wins.
Great pick. Great pick. Next one we have in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Oklahoma versus Navy. Weird game. To see Oklahoma go against a triple option Navy team, gonna be interesting. Wait, okay, yeah, they run the triple option, right? Is it them or does Army run the triple?
Yeah, they run the option.
It's Navy.
Run that option. Yeah,
that's gonna be strange. I have Oklahoma winning this game. They're only favored by 2.5, which is really interesting. This game could go either way. I mean, Jackson Arnold not the quarterback there anymore. Who the hell's gonna be throwing the ball for Oklahoma? I have no idea. I'm picking Oklahoma, but I don't feel comfortable.
Oh. Yeah, so it opened as a 9-point for Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold says, "I'm going to wait. Where the hell is he going? Mississippi State?
He's going to oh my God, Auburn. I believe he's going to Auburn. Let me see. Let me look real quick, but I think so.
Well, here's the thing. I ended up picking Navy, but now that I'm thinking about it, oh man, Oklahoma just has better players, and people. That's what people don't get through their brains. Oklahoma beat Alabama. Yeah, because they got 62 four-star players on their freaking roster. So let me tell you something. I just think Oklahoma, with their Brent Venables defense. If they didn't have a defensive coordinator as their head coach, I'd go Navy. Upset. But Venables is going to shut them down. And they're going to put Daffy Duck back. They're going to put the Sooner back there as with the wagon. That's your quarterback. Run it up the middle. Oklahoma wins it.
Good pick. Next one we have in the Birmingham Bowl. Speaking of the
devil. The worst bowl ever.
But this matchup's very intriguing. Georgia Tech versus Vanderbilt. I had Georgia Tech picked until Haynes King put his name in the transfer portal, and he's gone. Diego Pavia obviously got the NCAA granted him an extra year. So this guy's like 28 years old playing football. Will be 29, I think, next year. So this is kind of insane. I have Vanderbilt winning this game because they have more players playing.
Let me tell you something. This game is better off being played in either of the cities that these two teams are from, Atlanta or Nashville. But instead it's in Birmingham. Like, why the hell are we going to Birmingham? Why can't we stay in Atlanta or Nashville? Vandy gets it done.
Great pick. Great pick. That is true. Imagine having to stay in Birmingham for a week. Next one we have AutoZone Liberty Bowl. This one's usually a good one every year. We got Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Texas Tech, I love their pass game. They've had, I think, 2-3 receivers put their name in the portal, though, so that's kind of, I don't know. This game can go either way. Arkansas, bad football team. I'm going to go Texas Tech. I don't like that pick because of who they have in the portal, but listen, you're going to get that with these bowl games. You'll know what's going to happen. Arkansas favored by 1.5, though. I don't like that pick.
Give me the Arkansas Razorbacks. Let me tell you something. Who's that quarterback? Is it Green? Oh, yeah. Taylor Green, my guy. Run wild, hog wild, baby. Arkansas wins it.
That's a good pick, man. Should I change it?
Wait, you've never changed a pick.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Arkansas, actually. I'm going to switch it. You're right. But I just don't feel comfortable at all. Texas Tech has had a bunch of receivers put their name in the portal. They're a air raid team. They rely on those receivers. I'm going to go Arkansas to have it's going to be a dirty game. It could be a little dirty game, but I think Arkansas will win it. God, that's scary. Next one, DirecTV Holiday Bowl, another one of my favorites. Syracuse versus Washington State. I actually was a big fan of Washington State this year. Their quarterback put his name in the portal. He transferred to... Did he go to Mississippi State? I think he did. He went to one of the SEC schools, I believe. I'm going to go Syracuse in this game. They're a good little team. They're going to send it off in a great way and end the season with 10 wins.
Syracuse wins it. But let me tell you something. The Holiday Bowl is played in San Diego, where I am. Last year, they played it in Petco Park, the baseball stadium. I live across the street. I could just walk to the game. It was Louisville versus USC last year. It was a great game. But now they switched it back to the stadium across town. Who the hell wants to go all the way over there? Syracuse wins it.
I wonder why they did that. Next one we got is the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. You got the 6-6 USC Trojans against the 8-4 Texas A&M Aggies with the male cheerleaders. I don't know. This is a weird game. USC's the better team. They should be 11-1 right now in the playoff, but their quarterback also put his name in the portal. I really like that quarterback for SC. I forgot where he went, but he's going to be very good. I think he went to Virginia, I believe. I'm going to go Texas A&M here. I'm switching my pick.
Yeah, you got to go Aggies. USC's falling apart. I mean, little Lincoln Riley. Lincoln. Dude. Did you see what Lane Kiffin did? He got defensive players that get out there and take your heads off. You got to do that. So until you can figure that out, the Aggies run you over.
Great pick. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl. You got 8-4 UConn. Look at their little 8-4 team, dude. Love that for UConn. They used to be garbage. Against North Carolina. Oof. A North Carolina team that doesn't have a head coach. I'm going UConn.
Oh man. Wait,
Well,
who the hell did I pick?
UNC's favored by 2.5, by the way.
All right. So North Carolina, you hired Bill Belichick
Crazy.
as your coach. Okay. You should have spent that money on some transfer portal NIL people. Okay. Which is probably why the buyout goes away after the first year. So anyway, let me tell you, I just think North Carolina's got better players than UConn, but everyone probably thinks UConn's better than Florida since they lost fewer games. They lost fewer games, so they should be ahead of Florida. Give me North Carolina, Petey Pablo. Get it done.
There you go. Also, some news. Quarterback Deshaun Purdy from Charlotte has committed to the Gators in the transfer portal. So a good backup. He is a freshman from Charlotte. Actually, I think so that means he started over Max Brown, the transfer from last year that transferred out of Florida. He passed for 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So that's a good little backup. I'll take that. Alongside the true freshmen we have coming in and DJ Lagway, that's a really good quarterback group. I feel good about that. What do you think about that, EJ?
Love it because all three guys can run.
Yep.
You got to have somebody that can run nowadays. You can't be a statue back there because these D lines, they're coming at you 100 miles an hour. You can't be Purdy. I like that name.
Yep, I totally agree. Next one we got the bad boy, the bad boy mowers pinstripe bowl. I know I feel like I'm in a Bad Boys movie. Bad boy mowers pinstripe bowl. These names are insane. Boston College against Nebraska. I'm going Nebraska. I think I don't know. This is a toss up for me. Boston College is a very physical little team though, man. But Nebraska first bowl game in how many years? I think they want to get a win here, man.
Oh man. Okay, so in my bowl picks, I'm going the Boston College Eagles. BC, before Christ. On God, Boston College gets it done.
They're the better team. They are the better team. I just feel like Nebraska fans, they're gonna show up. This might look like when we take over Vanderbilt Stadium. I think this might look like that in this game. We'll see. Nebraska fans might show up.
Wait, where's this Pinstripe Bowl?
I think it's in Memphis, isn't it? Let me see. Pinstripe Bowl.
It's it. Oh, of course, Yankee Stadium. Pinstripe.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, so Boston is closer to New York. Okay. Boston. Let's go in there, Boston College. Let's get it done.
God, that's I don't know why I'm doing this pick because it's so obvious Boston's gonna win this game. But screw it, dude. Let's go Nebraska. Let's make it happen. I'm gonna eat some corn on Saturday. Next one we got is Isleta, New Mexico Bowl. Louisiana Raging Cajuns 10-3 against TCU. I got the Raging Cajuns in this game.
Give me the Raging Cajuns to eat some gumbo at midfield.
Yes, sir. Dude, I don't know if you look on the app, but 81% has picked TCU. Very interesting, but hell. I'm going Louisiana. Dude, one of my favorite bowls here in Orlando, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yeah.
I want to see what the tickets are. I might go this weekend. We got number 18. I went to the one last year. I think it was Kansas State and North Carolina State. It was a fun one.
How many Pop-Tarts did you eat?
Dude, I don't know. They had the big Pop-Tart on the field, bro. He was funny, dude. He was messing with the players during the game and stuff. He was great. He's a funny little mascot. Dude, he literally comes out of a toaster to begin the game. It's gold. It's so funny. We got number 18 Iowa State versus number 13 Miami. The first like big bowl game here. Cam Ward's playing in this game, so I'm going Miami.
Oh, Cam Ward's playing?
I believe so. Yeah, let me look real quick, but I think he's playing in this game.
All right. Well, then I got to go Miami. At first, I was going to Iowa State because I was kind of like, Iowa State might do something, Matt Campbell.
He's playing. It's confirmed. Yeah.
But now Cam Ward, give him the Pop Tarts. Okay, but before we go to the next game, favorite Pop Tart flavor. What's your favorite Pop Tart flavor?
I'm a classic guy. I just like strawberry. I'm so basic.
Okay. With the frosting or without the frosting?
Oh, with the frosting for sure. I feel like you got like. I feel like you had to think about that, but yeah, definitely with the frosting.
You're hilarious.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. So for me,
I'm curious that you're gonna say like a weird flavor now. I feel like.
No, I'm gonna say. Let me tell you something. Strawberry with the frosting, classic. My grandma used to always have the strawberry without the frosting, though. So
That's
I would have
weird.
to eat those. They're great in the toaster. But let me tell you something. I'll flip a coin between strawberry frosting and blueberry frosting. The blueberry ones are underrated.
I've never had one.
Oh, next
that's
time
on
you
my
go to
agenda.
the store, just get a blueberry. Just get like the little double pack.
Yeah.
You gotta try that blueberry Pop Tart. I'm telling you, it's a game changer.
There you go. I think it's a strawberry one that pops out of the toaster at the beginning of the game, dude. So that's kind of depressing. Dude, it's so funny. He slowly comes up. He starts dancing. It's great. Oh my God, no way. The name, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. We got Miami, Ohio, playing Colorado State. Snoop Dogg's out here sponsoring bowl games, dude. I love it. Colorado State. I have them winning this game. I really like this Colorado State team. They're very balanced. I love their offense.
Yeah, Colorado State. I got them to win this one. Miami, Ohio. I mean, hey, be happy you made it to the bowl, and you're in the Snoop Dogg Bowl. That's got to be pretty cool.
That's so dope, dude. That might be my favorite one so far. We got 3 more games here. We got the East Carolina Pirates versus North Carolina State and the Go Bowling Military Bowl. I hate East Carolina, and North Carolina State's actually my favorite ACC team. I'm going to go North Carolina State. Don't feel very confident because they have their best receiver just transferred, but I'm going North Carolina State. Probably the wrong pick.
I went back and forth with this one. I'm going East Carolina Pirates, but only because we shit our pants when we play them. And that's exactly what will happen with NC State. Somebody shitting their pants. Somebody shitting their pants in the Military Bowl, and the Pirates upset.
That's great, dude. That's funny. They had a grape Pop-Tart before the game, dude, and they couldn't hold it in. Next one, we got the Valero Alamo Bowl. This is actually a really fun one. It's a Big 12 matchup. BYU versus Colorado. I have Colorado winning this game. They're pissed that they weren't at the top of the Big 12 rankings, and I don't blame them. I think that Colorado gets a win here, and they win pretty big.
Give me Colorado. Shador.
Good pick.
Wait, is Travis Hunter playing this game? Heisman on him.
Yep.
Heisman on him.
I think so. So
Yep,
that's going to be huge.
Heisman.
Yes, sir. Last game. It's going to be this Saturday at 9:15 p.m. We have Louisiana Tech, 5-7 Louisiana Tech. That's interesting. Not even a 500 team. Playing number 22 Army. I'm going Army to win this game. I don't know why Louisiana Tech's even in this bowl.
So this is the bowl that they had to replace Marshall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Marshall dropped out because they didn't have enough players because 50 of them went in the transfer portal, which it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. So they called up Louisiana Tech and they said, hey, I know you guys are probably eating gumbo or whatever you do in Louisiana, but do y'all mind playing in this bowl game and getting ran over by Army? Sure. Black Knights, run them over. America, Army wins.
Great pick. And then after that, some bigger names start playing in the bowl games, but that don't start until next Monday, so we'll pick that next week. There you go. That's going to be the episode for today, man. Really do appreciate you guys. Go Gators, man. This was a really fun 2024 season, man. Honestly, it was a blast for this team. We still will be here next week the week after that, and the following weeks talking about the playoff games, of course, and any big portal updates. And so we got a lot going on. And as we get closer to the off season, we'll give you guys a schedule on when we will do episodes, because it probably won't be every week because there won't be a lot going on in the college football world. But we will keep you updated. Probably do one once a month or a couple, 2 times a month, just to stay engaged with you guys. But EJ, any things you want to tell everybody before we go?
We appreciate you all. Stay engaged, like, subscribe. I'll have some content throughout the basketball season, which basketball, we're 12-0.
Big
12-0,
win.
baby. Had probably our most complete game of the season last night against Jacksonville's finest North Florida Ospreys. Starting SEC schedule against at Kentucky and then Tennessee. Both those teams are in the top 5. You can win both those games. Are you going to be ranked number 1 in basketball? What? And our boy Todd Golden looks like he's going to be exonerated.
Yes, sir.
Pardon him.
Huge. So definitely stay up to date on everything. You can follow us on our Instagram, link down below. Now you can't join the college football the bracket, right? Because it's already passed. But we do have a lot of people actually in there, so that's pretty cool. Bowl Mania, go check it out. Love y'all. You guys stay safe. We'll see you next week. Go Gators.
Peace.